It's Friday, September 29th, 2023. Start off with our standard shill segment, patreon.com/Ozone Nightmare if you'd like to support via that platform. If you go to the show homepage, arrayed to your right as you face the page, from the front I guess, you will see rounded squares going down. There's one with the Patreon logo, which is exactly the address I said. There's one with the PayPal logo if you prefer that method of support. There is a book with a bookmark across the front of it, which will take you to Lando's Amazon author page. There is a image of a skull that will take you to my link tree with all my art links. And at the very bottom is a link to the YouTube channel where we are going to have, I don't know if any of the Baldur's Gate 3 videos have posted yet, but they will be coming soon because I've uploaded 7 or 8 of them so far. So they will start coming. And the code Ozone, to my knowledge, still gives you 2 months free on Libsyn if you would like to try out hosting a podcast. Don't expect to make any money at it. Other than that, go for it. Thus ends the shill segment. I have nothing else for the front of the show at this point.
I know. I just love that you end it with don't expect to make any money.
Well, even the people who make money at it are struggling because the ad business has fallen out because the advertising is a short-term way of making money. Because people don't like ads, especially because they are often very bad, either in the way they're made or in the fact that they are targeting you for something that you almost never actually want.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only way to make ads would be if you found people who could make them funny. And they might not like that.
It does happen.
Yeah, and because I mean, I think you were approached by some ball sack thing or something at some point.
Yes, Manscaped. Manscaped's offer is still extended, to use a metaphor.
And like that, as long as they didn't care what the conversation did, we could always talk shit about something like that.
Well,
Tough is, I don't think that's the way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's where I would just play an ad and not care.
Oh, okay. See, that's the thing. Like, I don't think that works as well. Anyway.
Well, it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. Here's the quintessential paradox at the heart of advertising. There's two sides, and neither work because each one has a horrible downside. The one end is what is still for many advertisers the traditional method, which is I have a product and I just want to make as many people buy it as possible by trying to make them think they want it. Right? That's the shotgun approach. That's traditional television, perfect example. It doesn't know where you are. It doesn't know anything about you, and therefore it tries to construct what it feels is an attractive scenario to get you to buy the product. That is why, for a long time, if you were going to buy a car, what you saw on television up until within the last, I would say, probably 20 years, was 4 white people, mom, dad, kids, and where the car could take you for adventure, fun, recreation, whatever, maybe a dog. And that's all you ever saw because they thought that was the biggest amount of people they could get with the ad. So rather than target it, they just did a scattershot approach. That's the one end. That's blind advertising for all intents and purposes. And then there's targeted advertising. The problem with targeted advertising is for it to work, they have to know a lot about you, and people don't generally like that. They don't like the idea that companies that are just trying to make money off them, because let's be honest, that's what companies do, might gather tons and tons of information so that they could predict your bowel movements after a couple of weeks. And then everything else.
Did you see that article about all the shit, the data your cars are collecting?
Oh, yeah. Modern car. Yeah, new cars. Why do you think I've been against electronics for a long time in cars?
When they asked, I think was it Mazda? It was one of the car companies. They asked them, they're like, well, you can, what is it? There's a thing you have to look at where it says that, we're going to collect all this information. And, there's nothing wrong with it, and it's like,
no.
No.
It's a TOS. But, it's funny. I had a fascinating conversation, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago. Because I'm one of the 10 people on the planet that still wears a mask everywhere. So when I went in to get my coffee in the morning at a Starbucks nearby, in front of the Starbucks, as I imagine is the case in probably at least a third of them, there were a group of individuals who are always there. Retirees or people who don't work or whatever, I don't know, but it's always the same people. Mm-hmm. And as far as I can tell from the way that they verbalize their opinions, they all or most are very right-wing conservative Americans. I have to point out Americans because right-wing, left-wing means different things in different countries. So Americans. Yes. And as I was walking in, one of them decided to ask me why I was still wearing a mask. What are you afraid of COVID was the comment.
Oh, do you have fun with it like I do?
Well, no. I wanted to try something. I've been meaning to try this, and I haven't had the opportunity because incredibly, and maybe it's because I'm a tall, what is perceived as white male, they don't say anything to me because I'm one of them or whatever, except for the mask. I don't know. But I don't get a lot of the commentary that say my wife and people with different skin color get, whatever it is. I've had this in my back pocket to try out because I was curious if it would work. And I said, no, it started out as that. But at this point, I just think it's the best way to keep my identity safe from all these cameras that are everywhere because, the government's sucking up all this information about you. And the look I got back was one of horror because...
because you're not wrong.
Well, I think, A, I didn't come back with a adversarial response.
No, you hit them in the paranoia.
Yeah, not the one they expected. And the other was oh, no, that's true. And then the follow-up was, they said, well, what did he say? He said something along the lines of, well, the stores aren't going to do stuff like that. And I said, well, I'm not so worried about the stores. Or I said, no, sorry, it was the reverse. He said something about...
At home or something like that?
Well, he said, I'm trying to remember. He wasn't concerned about. He said something along the lines of. I'm trying to remember because it was honestly such a brain numbing conversation. But it was something along the lines of, well, if you don't like that stores do that, just don't shop there. I said it's not the stores I'm worried about. It's the outside cameras because the outside cameras are not private businesses. Yes, you can they'll decide whether they want to or not. But I said the outside ones. I said those depend on people being vigilant about voting for the people who will defend their rights, and I don't see much of that happening. And I got a bunch of nods, and I'm like, see, if you just phrase things properly, people who are diametrically opposed to you in almost every way will eventually agree with you if you just know how to talk to them. And I went about my merry way. But I was curious if that would actually land, and it did. So I'm like, okay, it's just, it's almost like you would trick certain people into doing something that is actually good for everybody else by appealing to the right paranoia.
Well, and that's the thing is that is the kind of social engineering that you need, which is you need to convince people to do the right thing for themselves despite themselves.
Yeah.
And that's good design. I mean, that's one of the reasons
I had that response cooking.
Yeah.
For I had thought it up a long time ago, and I was like, I hope at some point I can try this out. I didn't want to instigate. I don't want to be a person who starts something.
Yeah.
But inevitably, these people have to be demonstrative of their perceived, superiority. And that inevitably is the bear trap that gets them.
Yeah. I almost went into industrial psychology, partly because I was always curious how the environment affects the individual. And the idea is to design these environments that get people to do the right thing. And I always say this to my wife, is like, you have to design environments to outsmart your own actual behavior, because we have this fantasy of who we think we are, but there's a reality to who we really are, and that's everybody. Like, everybody has, the real you, and very often you don't want to accept it, but there is a real you, and the real you is lazy. You're always lazier than you think you are. And it's kind of like designing environments around that kind of energy, where it's like,
lazy
I'm
and
gonna,
selfish.
I'm gonna put this where it is, because I know that I'm not gonna go. Like, it's like laundry baskets. Don't put laundry baskets where you think they ought to be. Put them where you know you're gonna throw the shit in there, because otherwise it's just gonna be a pile on the floor. And like that kind of goes with kids as well. But very often I find that you get people who are self-centered enough, and they often act like children. And it's all about everyone assumes that their way is the right way, and if you say something that's ambiguous enough, they kind of just fold you into their worldview, which is kind of dangerous.
Or to some degree, it is the two things can simultaneously be true at once, which is a person can genuinely believe that a mask will protect them and others from a virus or infection, and it can also serve the purposes of somebody who doesn't believe that. The mask can serve two masters.
Well, do you remember, what was that book? Oh, man, what was that book? You wouldn't read it because it was a weird shape, but it was... that
could be a lot of things.
Fuck, no, there was a graphic. I think it was called... Was it True Identity? It was a detective book, and it was about a future where basically somebody had put everybody's internet histories online, and it kind of like everyone's histories, like basically everyone's data was pumped online, and that
you're right. I remember.
Yeah, and it was a
book, yeah,
and it was a detective who was basically existing in the world after that, a calamitous event where there was essentially no internet anymore, and everybody fiercely protected their identity, so everyone wore masks when they went out on the street, and no one really showed each other their true faces unless they were like privately alone and they were involved. Otherwise, everybody wore masks, and it was a neat book. I mean, the story went off in a different way, and I enjoyed it in that respect. But I liked this idea of this future where everybody cover their faces. I said to my wife early on when all this COVID shit started that I was like, we should get some comfortable, neat masks. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, we're going to be wearing these for a while. And she's like, yeah, you think? And I was like, yeah. And do you remember early on, I had that samurai mask that I wore.
Oh, yeah.
And like I wore that for like the first 2 years. And then it got to a point where I just couldn't get it on and off fast enough sometimes when I was moving through environments. So I switched to something that... I switched to fabric after that. Also, my beard got huge. That was another problem I had, was that my beard, at one point during COVID, I gave so little shit. My beard was like down past my nipples, and I needed to wear something that could contain that monster. So, but yes, you are right. That was a good tactic for dealing with people like that. Because you're not wrong.
The interesting part of it is it does, to some degree, reveal the level of intellect you're dealing with. Because I was also just curious, okay, if I get somebody who's really on top of it, there's a different response that will come, as opposed to just deer in the headlights horror.
Paranoid, yeah, the paranoid person who goes, you're right. That's another thing to be afraid of.
Yeah, if somebody comes back and has a counterpoint, they've thought about it, and I'm like, okay, this is now we're getting into it.
Yeah, because my response to you,
a 20-minute conversation.
My response to you, my immediate thing that I thought of was, well, do you wear it at home in front of your computer?
Well, no, because my computer doesn't have any cameras on it, so why would I need to?
There you go. You cover them. Yeah, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
The car thing. We should link to that article because it was a really interesting article about it. I just don't remember where I read it, but you can find information. If you can find information about it, talking about all the information your car collects on you and how fucked up it is, and it's like, it's because, like you said, they want as much data as they can.
Found it
for various reasons. One reason being advertising, but the other reason is control. And they can make money off of it.
Just in case if somebody doesn't get to the link, Mozilla found it as part of their privacy not included blog, I think. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Wow,
And
it has.
I
I didn't read all the way through to this. This has every single car manufacturer and the information on them. That's hysterical. I didn't get this far.
Yeah, it's really fucked up.
Wow.
And like honestly, I find that I have a lot. I have a lot less private phone calls and private conversations in the car than I used to after that. And it's not. I guess it's not that I assumed. I didn't think they were listening quite to the extent that they were. You know.
Well, I mean, every type of. I mean, this is like everything. Is every sensor that can collect information, unless it's explicitly told you
everything everything in your life is ratting on you.
The interesting part of that is, I'm just trying to see something here. The interesting part is, I would say, if they don't have.
How does anybody pull off murder anymore in this country and get away with it?
Well,
is it just low tech?
Okay. Don't forget, there are parts of this country where the internet and
I know that. I'm saying, like, I said, there's a low tech approach to this, right? Which is probably how you do it.
Yeah.
But like, in these cases where, like, let's say you got Mr. Everyday White Man in his kingdom. And he has his cell phone and we'll call it a Mercedes Benz, and everything's connected, and he's living in a digital future and all this stuff. And he decides that it's easier to kill his wife than to divorce her, because it's his money, damn it.
Do you know what's funny about this? I had this exact discussion. Now I can't remember the substance of it. Because don't forget, I have 2 family members who are cops in New York.
Yeah.
And when I was last home at Christmas time, this came up, and I started rattling off all this stuff, and they were both like, "Yep, he's right," as far as how you would commit a crime. But I can't remember what the specifics were.
And that's what I'm saying is, like, with all this tracking and all this stuff, because I mean, very often you hear these cases where they're like, "Oh, so and so was online looking up." I mean, first off, if you're gonna murder someone, don't fucking look it up on Google. Like. Yeah. I mean, there's that. Remember the case of that horror writer who got visited by the cops because he was looking up all this stuff about how to dispose of a body. This and that.
That's why when I joke about being put on lists, no, I'm sure I am actually on.
lists. I'm on tons of lists because I do a lot of research for writing. So it's like, yeah.
I'll tell you what the number one way to get away from with a crime now is. I'll tell you what the reason that most don't get away, and I do remember
shut off your phone.
My family members, no. My family members agree with this. It has nothing to do with technology whatsoever. It is a lack of patience. Most of the people who are caught.
Yeah.
There's generally 2 types of murderers. Generally. The ones who are serial killer types that do it for a while, and there tends to be the escalation point, and they eventually will get caught because they just can't stop.
Well, it gets too big. Yeah, this is an area I do know about.
They do it so much that there's now a trail. They create a trail.
Well, that's what I mean. It gets too big because if you keep doing it, the amount of evidence against you begins to grow.
Yeah. I mean, and this is, of course, ruling out morons. People who think they're smarter than they are.
Yes, let's rule out. Yeah, morons is like another as a whole.
The other one is people who act in moments of anger or passion or whatever.
Impulsively. Planning. Yeah, but no. But that's the thing. Impulsive murders. That's one thing. You're angry. You lose your shit. People shoot each other on the highway all the time. I'm not talking about getting away with those. I'm talking about the people who sit there and say, "I am going to kill this person," and they plan it out and they figure it out. How do they get away with that?
Well,
in a digital age where you are connected.
No, let me tell you something. That doesn't matter.
You think is it because they're smart enough not to let it on to the digital spies?
I'll tell you exactly how you get away with it, which I shouldn't be broadcasting this, I guess, but I'm assuming most murderers don't.
Well, no, this is a philosophical examination of the topic.
Theoretically, were you to want to kill somebody? Well, number one, let's just say you wanted to commit a murder. You just want to see what it was like to kill somebody. For some reason, you had that impulse.
I love that you have to add reasons to this. Okay.
Well, because if it's personal, you're automatically behind the 8 ball. If there's a personal connection, you're going to be looked at.
If it's your wife. Yeah, absolutely,
right. But if you just wanted to see if you could commit a murder and get away with it, if you somehow had that impulse, all you really have to do... Yeah.
But it's already easier if it's not someone you're connected to.
Well, okay. So, you said, how do you get away with it? I'm telling you how you get away with it. You find a person who is from a forgotten class. So, homeless,
this is the American Psycho approach. Yeah,
of course. And you leave your phone at home.
But I'm saying,
you go kill him and dump him somewhere. That's it. It's done. All you really have to do.
Okay, fine. Let me be specific then. The whole idea of people who kill people that they know. a boss, a wife.
Yeah. Well, that's
you
harder.
find out.
No, it's harder.
You find out someone's banging your wife, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna, kill him, like shit like that. Close murders. How do people get away with close murders when there's so much digital spying?
Well, I think. Okay. So let's take the jealousy angle. The spouse that cheated. Honestly, I think the only way you get away with that at this point, unless you're exceptionally lucky in terms of escaping, is you have to fake the
not knowing
crime of passion. No. You say you caught them.
Oh, you want to fake a crime of passion. So you're assuming that you're already going to get caught to plan it and plan to basically say, I lost my mind.
Yeah. For like something like I don't know. You go in there and say that you caught them.
So you're completely sidestepping my question here, saying, no, assume you're going to get caught and play.
Well, yeah. I think if you're going to kill your wife and the cheater, they're going to be, because even without the technology, they're going to be looking at you.
Now you've escalated to double murder. Okay.
Well, in for a penny, in for a pound. You can't kill one and leave the other alive.
Well, might as well kill the whole block, right?
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. You're right. No, you could. If you were only going to go kill the guy and it was your wife, if you're going to kill the guy, you wait till he's alone. You confront him, get inside the house somehow, shut the door, and then when you're in the court, you say, not only did I find out, not only did he confirm the affair, but then he started telling me all this stuff about my wife and how he was, just using, and you make it like you're ramping up, like you just wanted to tell him to stop, but he kept goading you, and you just happened to grab something nearby.
You'd have to be a good actor, in that respect. But that dentist who found out her husband was cheating on her, and she in a fit of rage ran him over with their child in the car.
Well, see that's it.
And hold on. She would have gotten away with it as a moment of insanity, right?
Sure.
The problem is that she stopped and then backed up.
Well, of course. Well, that's what I'm saying is you have
and
to.
It's these little things.
Oh, no. That's
so it's funny because you're coming at this question with the assumption that if it's somebody who's close to you, your chances of not getting caught are pretty low.
Very slim.
Yeah.
Because what you just described is the loss of control, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
No. But what I'm saying is if you were premeditated, though, how do you do it in such a way?
Well, that's how you do it. You have
digitally, they wouldn't catch you.
It would have to be. There's too many moving parts to that.
You'd almost have to build up a narrative. Like, you'd almost have to build up an internet history of, like, I want to buy my wife flowers. Where can I take her on a beautiful vacation? You'd almost have to build up a digital narrative that you guys were fantastic and you were so in love, and create a...
No,
No?
Okay, I just came up with a way, which is, it's so warm.
No, but think about it. No, before we go with that, don't you think building up... If you know they're mapping you, right? If all this software is following you, couldn't you fake a happy marriage, or fake a I didn't do this kind of cloud around you? You know what I mean? Like, make it so that they couldn't use the digital against you.
You're going to have to be very patient because,
patience is key, of course.
Well, yeah. So because you can't just have it in a 2-month span. Suddenly things change.
No. This is a long game. Yeah.
Yeah. So sure, you could. But you would have to cover so many bases to make that work.
You'd have to be on the ball all the time. You'd have to build an identity almost.
Yeah, and I mean, if you really, I guess you could, but it would be. Let me tell you something.
You'd have to be so methodical.
You know what would be easier?
Yeah.
Although you're gonna
just
have to
faking crime of passion.
Well, I mean, something like let's say you're driving with the person.
But you're answering my question. Oh, no, because remember that case where the guy undid the woman's seatbelt at the last minute? Did you read about that?
No, what did he do?
Oh, okay, so a guy was driving. He was driving with his ex-wife, and he wanted to kill her, but he wanted to make it look like an accident. So what he did was he drove at a tree at high speed with her in the car, and at the last minute undid her seatbelt, right? When they looked at the records of the car showed in its records that right before the crash, he undid her belt.
How did it know he did it, not her?
Apparently there was a timestamp. Oh, you know what? Actually, I can't remember that. What was it? Was there a camera in the car? I got to remember now how they knew, but there was something
a camera in the car. Yes, you'd have a problem.
There was something they very specifically knew that in the last moment before they hit the tree, he undid her belt. He specifically undid her belt.
Well, if they have a way to know that, because what I was going to say is, actually, it's funny, because to me, I thought the tree was going to, I didn't even think of a tree. I thought you have to go off a cliff. You have to be willing to drive off a cliff with this person.
But how do you survive that?
Well, you have the belt on. What you do is you grab that person's hand and you jam it onto the thing as you're falling, and you say, well, her arm must have hit it, or whatever. Wow, no, you have to be willing to take it.
I love it.
Listen,
you're talking to me. You're talking to me about how building a fake persona through the internet trail would be hard. You're talking about driving off a cliff and grabbing their hand and hitting the bell at the last moment. That sounds so much worse.
Well, because the thing is, I don't think the digital persona thing. You have to cover so many bases. Whereas losing control of a car, because here's what you do:
you're driving off a cliff.
No, well, let me tell you something. How hard could it be to fake losing control on a cliffside at night or something?
No, but you're making a lot of assumptions about surviving.
You're making a lot of assumptions about covering every part of the digital tracks. The thing is, if you're in court and you look like you just barely survived, which you probably did, or you got banged up, that's an easier sell than.
Man, I don't know.
Well, how is it that this one part of your digital life was suddenly saying everything was fine, and suddenly she died? You know what I mean? I'm just saying it's tough.
I don't know. Yeah, listen, they thought was it Andy Dufresne when it looked like he did it, or he looked like he did it, and you said he didn't do it.
Yeah.
So
but that's also a much different world, like you said.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think it's easy to get away with anymore. I think that the digital age is making it. If you are steeped in the digital realm, I think it's harder to pull something like that off anymore, unless you go lo-fi. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that, or you again, you have to. I mean, you'd almost have to be a Lex Luthor type of mind, because it almost doesn't. You almost sit there and go, would anybody of this type of personality just want to kill somebody like this? Because if you're that clever and smart, you're going to have a better life than murder necessitates, unless you're literally just trying to see if you can get away with it. And I guess those people exist, I'm sure.
That's what I'm saying. You're assuming that there isn't that personality type.
No,
I can tell you right now.
But those people, they've gotten away with it. To answer your question, they did. We never heard of them. It's happened.
Yes, well, exactly.
Somebody that good has done it.
Somebody has done it, yeah.
I can't construct what's necessary because I'm not that person. If I was, I would sit here and give you a dissertation.
And that's the problem. That's the problem of being a writer, because I'm always sitting there trying to imagine who that person is like, because that's the kind of people you want in your story.
Well, but see, that's where you have to go to a prison and talk to the person who almost got away with it. Except one bad piece of luck. They had everything right except this one thing. They were going to get rid of the last piece of evidence, and they tripped and broke their ankle, and that's the only reason they got caught. Everything else didn't. And those people exist, because I've seen or read stories about people who had everything right, but they got pulled over for
like
Son of Sam. Son of Sam, the only reason they got him was because, they had nothing. And then he's parked illegally. If he hadn't parked illegally.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
The Zodiac, they still don't think they ever got. And that guy was all over the place.
Sometimes people want to get caught, too. This is like looking over the edge.
That's the escalation thing. Yeah, of course. That's what I was saying about serial killers.
You look over the edge and you want to jump. And I think sometimes that fatalist mindset is what kind of sneaks in.
Oh, sure. But,
But it's fascinating to me, because
I think it's more of a boring thing of, okay, I just keep getting away with this. Is anybody even going to be able to catch me?
We're steadily getting so mapped that I'm beginning to wonder at what point you get like that pre-crime effect, where they're sitting there going,
"Oh, it already happened."
We've looked at all the numbers, and we've looked at the way you behave, and we're pretty sure you're a murderer.
Well, isn't that what the list that you're on is? That's pre-crime. Oh, this person searched for how to make a bomb and send it to an elementary school. We're going to be keeping an eye on this person. Right?
Oh, my God. You just got us on a list. Okay.
Well, I don't care, because I'm not going to bomb an elementary school, so it's fine.
No, but that's my point, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is that is pre-crime. That phrase is going to get saved somewhere.
They put you on a list, and then
this show has doomed us. This show we're on multiple things.
I know,
right?
I know. We're on so many lists.
So if anybody ever sends a bomb to an elementary school after shooting a bunch of people in Hummers, we're going to get a knock on our door. That's what's going to happen.
You had to go back. You had to go back early for that.
Oh yeah, that's a deep cut. Yeah. Yeah, as the kids say. But if that let's you know what would be funny if that happened. If one day there was a knock on the door and there were the feds. Yeah. And they said there was a bombing at an elementary school after a series of people were killed in Hummers, and we'd like to take you down from some questions. I would say, I understand. Let me put my shoes on. I know where this is coming from. I know I'm in the clear, but I get why you're here.
It's very specific.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But I guess that's the thing. If it's very specific and you have you're on those specific lists, then yes, they come looking for you. Yeah. It's like if someone starts killing people and it's like something you wrote in your book. Of course they're going to come talk to you because it's like, hey.
Of course.
You know.
Why wouldn't
yes, you're right. In that respect, it is like pre-crime.
Yeah.
It's like pre-crime. But speaking of a crime that is soon to happen, did you see that J.J. Abrams is rebooting Krull?
Yeah, I don't care. It's fine.
Really? You don't care?
I've gotten to that point now where I don't care. I'm like John Carpenter. Who cares? The original's there. Who cares?
Yeah, my wife doesn't remember that movie at all. I was complaining to her that J.J. Abrams was making it, and I was telling her like Krull, and she's like,
I don't think my wife's ever seen it.
How is your wife not seen that movie?
She's not.
You don't think she'd enjoy that?
You know, I've actually gone back and forth on whether I think she'll find it boring. But
interesting. Yeah, I guess the thing is,
maybe she's seen it.
I think my wife would enjoy it, because she actually does like a bit of sword and sorcery.
Well, I don't think my wife would hate it. I just don't know if she would like it.
And Krull has this really unique look to it. That's
why I go back and forth on us watching it sometime. We probably will. We just haven't gotten to it.
It has a very weird, clean look. It's very polished and yet very gritty all at the same time.
And it's very imaginative. There's lots of very
Liam Neeson's concepts. First movie. Is it Johnny Coltrane or the guy who played Hagrid?
Robbie Coltrane.
Robbie Coltrane. That's his one of his first roles. We get a lot of people in there. And I never, you know what? I never realized that guy went on to be a villain on Deep Space Nine, the Prince. You know that went right over my head.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Oh
yes,
my god! I totally missed that. But yes, I was talking to her about Krull, and I was like, "Here, the movie with the spinny thing with the blades that come out, the glaive," and she was like, "Have I seen that?" And I was like, I don't know if you have. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So, but yes, I saw that, and I was like, and a lot of people are basically saying, well, he rebooted the Star Trek universe, so for movies, so maybe he can do a good job of it. And I'm kind of like, maybe he's just not a very good. J.J. Abrams knows how to launch stuff. I just don't feel like he knows how to land it. Still,
here's what I'll say, and this may surprise you. I love Krull. I love the movie.
Yeah.
However, I am aware that it probably could use some pepping up.
You can make it better. Okay.
Yeah. Especially in the first half, there are segments where I'm like, yeah.
Who is the director that you would be?
Okay,
happy?
I don't have here. This is also probably going to surprise you.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with Abrams directing. I have an issue with him writing it.
Yeah, but it's his team probably.
Well, if it would depend what the team made. The team that he puts together, because I'm sure he works with a variety of people. If these are the people, because don't forget, this isn't like Force Awakens or even whatever the other one was, because those he was shackled to what
a certain idea.
Whereas the nice part about Star Trek was they let him reset it. Now Krull, he would probably have free reign because who cares? Not many people look at Krull like we do.
Yeah, I just wonder what elements he would keep. That's the big question.
Well, you know what I'll tell you? I don't think he could resist.
You're keeping the Cyclops. No, you're keeping the Cyclops. You're keeping the flying.
No.
The glaive.
I wonder if he would have to show the beast too much.
Oh, get more.
Yeah,
more
I wonder. Now, what I would love.
No. You know what? I think he won't because he loves the mystery box.
He says that, but you know what? He hasn't adhered to that as much as he used to.
Well, hold on. What's the movie that he did? The found footage horror kaiju movie.
Yeah, Cloverfield. That was early on.
Did they ever reveal the full monster in that, or was it always like
only
kind of
for maybe a minute? No,
Okay.
they did. You see it, but it's very brief. And of course, it's on crap. It's on found footage, so they made it look crap. But you see it. No, you see it. No, the issue is, if I could give advice, let's put it like this. I don't care. His direction in terms of its actual direction is fine. He's trying to be Spielberg. Well, you know what?
It's
Much
the
worse
story.
people to imitate.
It's the story that we always have the problems with.
My suggestion would be don't reboot it. Make a sequel. Make it that somebody goes to find the glaive.
Interesting.
And then tell a new story.
So and honestly, I can agree with that because they've done that
essentially
before.
what Force Awakens was. Which was
Force
we're
Awakens
continuing it, and we have to bring something else back. Well, instead of bringing back, I mean, they could bring Colwyn back. He's alive.
Yeah,
I would have a problem with that. If
So
somebody has to go and
Liam.
find Colwyn and say, "I know you. The legend is that you were the only one to wield the glaive successfully, right? And I need you to tell me where it is. There's a new threat." You need, and he becomes the old man from the first movie. That makes sense. It works. It's kind of a nice, lyrical echo or whatever they call it.
Have him become.
Yeah, he becomes the old man. Now, the thing his problem is going to be don't recreate all the moments. The Cyclops is dead. Do you need another Cyclops? That's debatable to me.
No, but you could have a whole shit ton of them. Like that's the other direction.
But
you could
did
have
that
other,
already.
or you could have other species. Yeah, I know, but this is the problem. Is that Abram loves to revisit that which is already
that's
there.
What I'm saying is
it's always like a what do you call it? It's always an homage.
Yeah, but that's where you can get away with. All right, bring what was his name, Ken Williams, whatever the guy's name, whoever Colwyn, the actor, whoever the actor was. You bring that guy back. There's your nostalgia play. You get the glaive back. There's your nostalgia play.
It's not. I don't
right?
think it's enough for Abrams.
Well, if he's writing it, if somebody else with a little bit more sense and creativity does it, right?
Yeah.
Then you might have a better shot. But that would at least mollify him in terms of, well, we have to be able to show that there was something before. All right. Well, okay. Sit down. Let the adults write this for a few minutes. Okay, got it. Yeah, all right. How about this? We'll get Colwyn back, and that's your Han Solo, and we'll get the glaive back, and that's your Luke's lightsaber. Is that enough?
Staying with your Star Wars theme, I watched was it the Master and Apprentice episode of Ahsoka Tano? And Star Wars did something a little different for me.
Wait, okay, is that the newest one or the one before?
No, the one where
are the Night Sisters in it?
No, not yet.
Okay, because Claudia Black is the lead, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
You know what's funny? That's the reason I'm going to watch this series. It's the only reason.
Yeah, I saw that and I got excited. I was like, I hope Ann Browder shows up.
Well, I saw a picture of her. She looked great.
She does look great. I saw a picture too.
Great.
No, it's the episode where they I think it's the third. It's the third episode. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
There's a sequence where they're being attacked. Their ship has been kind of crapped out, and they're still being attacked. And Ahsoka gets on basically a flight suit and goes out in space and fights the other ships with her lightsaber. Now, I'm sure they did this. I'm sure Filoni did this in the animated series, right? But they never did anything like that in the movies. In fact, I realized of late that one of my biggest issues with the Jedi, other than the fact that their whole philosophy and system doesn't really work in the long run because people have needs, and even monks were, fucking each other or other people. Celibacy doesn't work unless you cut it off, and that would make a very different kind of power of myth if the Jedis were all lightsabering it off, right? But like in the movies, the way the Jedis use their power, it's very rare you find a Jedi who is really thinking a writer who's really thinking asymmetrically about how you could use Jedi powers, right? Obi-Wan in the original movies is great because he was changing people's minds. Do you know what I mean? Like, but the thing is,
yes,
that goes a lot further. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can be so much more powerful than that, or you can find more clever ways to do things.
Oh, of course.
And I always got bored because I thought if you had a really, really powerful Jedi, they would barely lift a finger. They wouldn't have to sword fight you.
Well,
the fact that people are fighting with lasers is a sign of poor skills. Because if you are a real Jedi, if you are a real Sith Lord, you would just crush that lightsaber in their hand and be like, what are you, a child? Right?
Well,
but
I mean, yes, there is a huge
because like
in Star Wars.
Yeah. So, but I know Filoni did a lot of shit in the show because he had the money and it was animated and he didn't need to actually have special effects. It was all animated, right? So I know that in animated, that's why the animation action is always kind of better, right? But I got the sense that for once Filoni was like, you know what? Let's just do this. And they were like, go ahead. And so he did. And he had this sequence where you have Ahsoka Tano in her spacesuit with the lightsabers fighting off the ships. And I was like, you know what? It's not that it's smart. It's still part of the whole, why are these Jedis fighting? Because for me, one of the best Star Wars Jedi moments is when Darth Vader grabs the ship. The ship's trying to take off, and he grabs the fucker out of the sky. That is some impressive Sith Jedi shit. That is some force wielding, right? After that, my two other favorite moments are the what's the martial artist in Rogue One?
Ray Park. Oh,
Rogue One.
Rogue One?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Donnie Yen?
Donnie Yen, yeah. Donnie Yen as the blind fighter
who, IP man, but
who basically uses the Force to know where to go. I love that idea. He's not a Jedi. He's Force sensitive, and he uses it to guide himself. That's excellent. Beyond that, I like the fact that when the thing that finally fucks Darth Vader up in the Obi-Wan series is when Obi-Wan starts thinking asymmetrically. He doesn't just fucking fight him with a sword. He throws a goddamn mountain at him. Now, granted, he only did it because that was what Darth Vader did to him 5 minutes ago. So it's kind of a lack of creativity on on Obi-Wan's part. But I like the fact that for those two to beat each other, it wasn't about the swords anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, it started with the swords, but it became bigger than that. And the fact that, Darth Vader grabbing the ship, for me, is one of the best moments for that character. Not the hallway scene, which I know is impressive and cool, but you know what? Any assassin with a sword could do that.
Yeah, of course.
That motherfucker grabbed a starship from the sky, and if it hadn't been for that lady that basically tried to stab him in the back, he'd have pulled that fucker out of the sky.
But
that's really neat.
It's funny because that reveals that the biggest problem with Star Wars in general is there is no way that being doesn't kill Obi-Wan in that fire in 2 minutes.
Oh yeah. But
that's
the
the larger problem about what you're talking about.
No, but the logic I have with that is that he doesn't really want to kill Obi-Wan. I think that he wants to fucking torture his ass is really what he wants to do.
Then he is a peasant with a sword if he can't think better than that.
I don't think Darth Vader ever wanted to kill Obi-Wan, because if he'd wanted to kill Obi-Wan, I think he would have just fucking killed him. The same way that Obi-Wan could never bring himself to kill Darth Vader. You forget, like, that's the only way I could write that in. Why these two didn't kill each other. Right? It's the only way I could write it in is that there was just too deep and profound a thing between them to do it. You know? But that said, I did enjoy that Ahsoka Tano did this little action sequence. It in itself is still not creative enough for me because I really want this. I want Jedis to become so powerful. I want there at least to be some Jedi that's like, the Jar Jar thing, right? So the actor who played Jar Jar, they had him as the sword master, right?
Yeah.
His sequence is fantastic, right? But he is not a powerful Jedi because at the end of the day, his abilities are still derived from the physicality of a kind of sword play, right? What's more impressive is the Jedi who, when and I haven't seen this done yet, so maybe this has been done in the comics or in some books and I haven't seen it, but I want there to be a Jedi out there that when they did the whole Order 13 or is it
Order 66, I think.
Order 66, yeah. When I did Order 66, right, and all the stormtroopers or clone troopers were like, oh, we're going to attack you. There was a Jedi out there who had power enough to look at them all and go, but I'm not here. And they were like, he's not here. And they all just walked away. A Jedi who is so powerful that he is just reaching into people's minds and saying, I'm not here. I was never here. You can't see me. And there's a really great thing in the new series, the Good Omen series, where the Archangel Michael is hiding out in Aziraphale's library, and Aziraphale and Crowley know they need to hide him. So the two of them get together and do a what do you call it? Not a holy event, a miracle, that no one can see Michael. Now they can see him, and they can acknowledge a person is there, but they cannot see him. And they have these angels and demons show up, and Archangel Michael's right there, and he's like, it's not Michael, it's Gabriel. Sorry, Michael's the other one. The Archangel Gabriel's there, and Gabriel's like, hey, how you doing? Some people call me Gabriel. And everyone's like ignoring him, being like, tell your servant man to shut up. And, and at one point he tries to give himself up to the demons, and they actively throw him back into the library because he's not who they want. Because they cannot see that he is Gabriel because of this magic, right? Thank you, Neil Gaiman. Say what you will of Neil Gaiman, he is clever, and it's that kind of thing. It's like I want there to be more cleverness, because I mean, especially I know that they want to do more Obi-Wan. I would love it for Obi-Wan to meet a Jedi who basically just sidestepped the whole thing and said, I realized that I could no longer be a Jedi, so I just said, I'm not here, or you don't remember me. I want to stop a Jedi from basically turning to someone and going, you have no memory of me. Boom. And then being like, oh, I don't even know a Plo Koon, So beyond that, I did enjoy watching the space sword play with spaceships. It was very fun to watch. And I'm excited to see Claudia Black back on screen because she's awesome. And you know what? Rosario Dawson plays Ahsoka Tano very interestingly. Have you seen any of you saw her in Mandalorian, right?
Yeah, where she was basically the very aloof and kind of.
Well, it's the thing. She's not aloof. There is a. Oh man, it's weird.
That's the closest word I can come to what it is. Very restrained and kind of almost
disconnected.
Yes,
she's very restrained. It's very I don't know, like haunted or something like that. It's an interesting performance. It's very subdued. But I guess that's the point, isn't it? The Jedi is subdued. Even though she's supposedly she's not a Jedi because she disagreed with them. And I think that's one of the things that kind of bug me. Everyone talks about her being a Jedi. But one of the more fascinating things about her is that she actively stepped away from the Order because she did not agree with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to bring it up. I enjoyed the space fighting moment, and I thought that if nothing else, you might enjoy that because it's not something that we've seen on the screen before.
Well, as always, I'm going to wait till it finishes.
Of course.
The Claudia Black part alone makes and Hayden Christensen being back in it.
Yes, okay. I did see something. I saw something about that dream sequence where she basically has all the backflashes.
Yeah. It sounds great.
And I thought that was very cool that the way they did that. That's the same girl, by the way. The young Ahsoka Tano is the same girl who played young, Thanos' daughter.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Gamora. I think Gamora. Yeah, young Gamora. I thought that was very funny. But staying with Disney, my daughter tried to watch the Willow series today. And it's not there on Disney.
No, that was they removed it 2-3 months ago. That was a big deal.
Holy shit! They pulled a ton of shit off.
They did. Yes.
Is there any reason why they not only canceled the Willow show?
Yes, because then they don't have to pay the people who made it.
Oh, what fucking assholes!
Come on, you should have known that without me saying it.
My God, is it it's just royalties? Fucking dicks.
Yeah.
Oh man!
You don't
in the
have
Willow
to pay
series,
residuals or anything else if nobody else watches it. It's dead.
Yeah, they'll never make another. They have killed it. They have effectively murdered.
Well,
that show.
mean that's not necessarily true, but they don't want to lose any more money on it right now.
Yeah.
So.
That's really ass. Yeah,
Yeah,
I figured.
well,
I read an article. About how they were pulling everything, and a couple people are doing that now. And I was really hoping that it wasn't just that. They're like, well, you know what? We don't feel like paying actors and writers and stuff. So, it is just that.
It is just that.
Can you even find that anywhere else? Like, is there a DVD version of that?
No. Oh, no. You can find it other places, but not where you're going to buy it.
Hold on. I'm curious. Is there really no DVD of it?
No, they didn't do a physical release of that.
No, they did.
Really? When did they?
Yes,
Wait. Is that the one that they did where there's no actual movie in it? The ones that they released?
No, it's the Blu-ray. This Willow Season 1 Blu-ray. It does exist.
Let me see. Let's take a look. Hold on a minute. I want to look at this because there were a bunch that they released that there's actually no movie. You're buying a collector's case. I'm not kidding.
Are you kidding me?
No. Oh, this is suspicious to me. These listings don't look. Okay. Hold on. I've only seen these on eBay, man.
Here's the thing that's fucked up. There is no official listing. Everything I'm finding is like DVD Land or online movie shop
that means somebody who archived it made their own disc. There's no real one. I told you, there's not. No, doesn't exist.
Bitch.
This is somebody who made one for people who want to own it and apparently don't have internet access to just download it. Yeah, how could it possibly be $22 from Disney? Are you kidding?
Yeah, that is so.
Yeah, no, I told you. No, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I felt bad. Yes, my daughter was like, "When is it coming back?" And I was like, "It's not coming back." And she's like, "Never." And I'm like, "Not that I know of." She's like, "Why would they do that?" And I'm like, I really hope it wasn't just because of money." But yes, apparently it was.
Where was that? Who released it? Where they released movies that have no movies. God, it was a famous thing too, where they said, "No, these are collectors' cases. You're buying a collector's case."
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's just insanity.
Oh God. Collector's case
with no movie.
So you can sit there and imagine that you can see the show, but not really.
It wasn't that long ago. Damn, I can't find what it was. Yeah, they put out a series of collectible steel cases, basically. Steel book movies with no movie. I'm trying to find it. It was recent too. Man, and I thought it was Disney, but I could be wrong. It could have been somebody else. Oh, well, I can't find it. There was a series of things released, and they specifically said, by the way, there is no movie inside. You're just buying a collectible case to put on your shelf. I am not kidding. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty shit.
Oh, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, and it stands to a bigger question here because I sent you a link recently about a Russian oligarch who's been collecting a lot of art lately. And I guess because he's been sanctioned by the US, his art cannot go to certain places now, that he can't just lend it out. But his guy has bought a lot of art, and there's some people who like art people who are basically saying it's kind of scary because you have these paintings that get bought up and then you never see them again. And I think we had talked a while back about how ridiculously rich people who buy paintings just because they're a commodity, right? And you just put them in a safe. And this is one of those guys. He loans some of them out, but there's a lot he puts away, or he's got them on display in his private villa, right? And there's this question of, so does art even really exist if culturally...
That was it. WandaVision is being sold as an empty steel book. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
That's a weird statement in itself, Jesus.
Isn't it? I'm sorry.
Of all the series.
Well, anyway, it's not just WandaVision, but go ahead.
No, I know, but so if art is created, right, and then immediately vanished, it has no cultural effect. So like for example, Willow,
that's
right?
Not true. No, that's not true.
Willow has come out, right? Willow came out and people watched it for a bit, right?
Yeah.
And then it has been torn off the internet. Now, here's the thing. You are correct. The pirates still have copies. So it's still out there, but it's not out there the way it would be if it was just easily accessible. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yes. If you're talking about the level of impact, it is definitely different.
That's what I mean. The level of impact is so immensely minimized. Especially with more modern art. It's one thing if you were like, okay, he bought a Van Gogh. You're like, okay, well, first off, a lot of Van Goghs have been photographed, so like it's not like you can't find a picture of it, right? But it's more effective with, or it's more painful with new art. If you buy something that's only come out in the last, 20 years, let's say, right? that could potentially be considered very important in the art world, and you buy it and you just hide it, and no one sees it.
I don't know that that's really true, and I'll give you a perfect example, which is Jerry Lewis's film "The Day the Clown Cried."
The Day the Clown. Yeah, about the clown in the Nazi camp.
The concentration camp. Now, famously, that movie has never been seen outside of a few people, and that's how he wants it. Now, at some point, it will be seen, but it will probably be more impactful now than it will be when it's released. And when it's released, it will just be a fascinating failure.
Yeah, but you're making an assumption that it will ever be released.
Oh, no, it will. His thing is only for so long. He said it has to be till like 2050 or something like that. Right. But if it's not, it's actually more impactful. Your imagination of what they know of people who've seen it it will never live up to that. It will never be as good.
No, it never will. Yeah.
In a similar vein, there's a game called Polybius, which is famously never existed as far as anybody could ever tell, and yet it has become legendary as a possible CIA information collection thing, or a way for the NSA to research for, Russian spies. But the game, as far as anybody is aware, never actually existed, but its legend is so immense that you Google it, you will find a million things on it. It is famous as for a game. So you're saying
at the end of the day, the legend of the art will be enough for the art to have an effect.
Yeah, because at least it actually exists. So there is the potential for it to be seen, and that will be more powerful than it never existing at all. If the guy had bought a painting and exhibited it and burned it, it would become the most amazing piece of work that no one will ever see. Because you will never be able to dispel the myth.
It is interesting. It is an interesting point of view on the matter. Like, I find it sad because some of these paintings you may never see.
Oh, it's pathetic.
You'll never see potentially in his lifetime, because there's something he's just got. Yeah. And apparently it's quite a large collection. And like I said, we've talked about this. We've talked about shades of this, but this is a direct case of an individual who has a ton of money, owns all this art. And like I said, he was loaning some of it out to museums, but because of, sanctions, because he's a Russian oligarch, he cannot show up now in certain things. And a lot of people will be like, well, that's politics. That's not his fault. He would lend it. But still, it's this idea that he is in control of, he's in control of culture. You know what I mean? Like, it is kind of scary because, this is the whole idea of like, who owns the art, and he owns the art. I mean, he's bought it, and it really makes you realize that it really messes with the idea of the cultural importance of art on the psyche. Do you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
If you can't see it, so like, if you can't see it and there's no copies of it, right? Then it has a null effect. You might hear about it, but it has a null effect, right? Because is the legend really enough? I mean,
well, if there is literally no information on it. I heard that this Russian guy has a Van Gogh painting that no one else has ever seen called "The Old Man in the Sea" or the Man on Ship Tower. Oh, really? What does it depict? I don't know. Nobody's ever seen it, but
nobody's ever seen it. Yeah.
And
you're saying
Whereas
but that's what I mean. Like,
if it was
sad
exhibited
because...
once in 1942 at one gallery while Hitler's army marched above, and secretly in a tomb, 30 people saw it, and half of them collapsed because of its power to move them. And it is now forever been sealed. That would be the greatest painting you'll never see in your life.
What's funny is that you're not even talking about the actual art. You're talking almost like it almost becomes a simulacra of itself.
Well, because
the simulacra has more of an effect than the actual piece of art.
Because because here's the thing. There's only.
I guess I'm looking at it in this purist mindset, and I'm like, isn't it a piece of art without an audience a terrible thing?
Oh, that's a separate question. Is a piece of art without an audience a terrible thing? Of course it is. No artist.
So here's the thing. We've talked about this before. And there's a difference now from the last time we talked about it, because you actually make money on your art. Whereas I still just, like, as I say to my wife, I uselessly put my literature on Amazon to die. Right? So you and I are in a different place. I'm still in the place I was before, whereas you actually have attention now in your work, right?
The smallest ripple in the ocean, but yes.
Okay, fucker, you've made more than $15 on your art, right?
Well, yes, but I mean,
then you're way beyond me. No, you're way beyond me. In fact, okay. I probably haven't even made that much because, just buying the computer and the software has put me so far in the hole that yeah, exactly. That's the thing. As I said to my wife, you know what? Right now, I'm trying to release the first part.
You're trying to pay off your technology costs.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm trying to release the first part of my new book which is basically kind of self-contained, so it's a novella. I'm trying to release it. I have to find someone to edit it. My wife used to edit my books, except she's gotten very much into like doing tech manuals and things like that. So she doesn't really think she'd do a job. I went looking to find an editor. It's going to cost me like $1,000 to get it edited. And I'm sitting there going, dude, I'm going to pay $1,000 and you're going to edit this for me. And then I'm going to take it and I'm just going to put it on the internet, on Amazon, whatever, and let it die there. It's not going to make any money. And my wife says to me, that's partly your fault because you don't want to advertise yourself. I was like, no, that's the reality of who I am as a person, right? I'm not going to get on what the burning remains of Twitter and fucking whore myself out because that's not who I am. It's just not in my personality. I talk to people, sure, but like I'm not going to go door to door. Honestly, maybe I should go to door to door and be like, "Hey, would you like to read my book? It's on Amazon." That would be memorable, right? Should start doing that now whenever I travel, go to door.
Yeah,
but
sure.
The thing is, the idea of spending this money, and it's like I'm already so in the hole. I will never make the money back that I have put into this, but I still do it because it's this, because it's a compulsion, right? So the question I was going to pose to you was, at one point a while back, we were talking about creating art and getting paid for it and no one ever seeing it. So this idea that, you get a wealthy benefactor who comes to us and says, write your book and I will pay you thousands of dollars, but no one will ever read it. But you'll be able to write and be paid and live your life, right? And I think both of us said that we would do it. Because at least you'd be being paid to do something that you want to do, that you would be doing anyway, right? Even though no one would ever see it. Now, I still make no money, so my answer still remains. If someone wants to pay me for my writing, at least I'd be making something and I'd still be writing. But you, as a paid artist, would you like that deal?
Did we say that no art of yours ever would be seen? They're paying you for the totality?
It would no one would ever see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't care? Interesting. No. Oh, interesting.
Because, well, I'll tell you why. There is no guarantee, because you're saying I'm a paid artist. That's for this one thing. Now, a year from now, that could vanish because more art will come out, and I hope not, but I don't know that. So, in a sense, that's sort of what's happening. It's just on a big audience, but that same thing could happen. So, would I prefer to at least have someone appreciate it? Yeah. So it's essentially it is still the same answer. It doesn't matter to me. Ideally, I would like anyone who enjoys my work to enjoy my work, right? That's the ideal. And so if I could make that work, but if it came down to somebody saying, I could put you in a position where you could create as your art to whatever you want and not have to worry about making a living, and I'm the only one who enjoys it. Well, that is...
Oh, yeah. No. I'm saying you wouldn't even know if they enjoy it. They would just be taking it. You'd have no idea. No idea whatsoever. Yeah, I would, other than the fact that
in my mind, they have to be. Why else would you pay? It can't possibly be an investment because no one else sees it.
Yeah.
Right?
I know, right? Well, that's why it's a hypothetical question, right?
Well, but just by the logic of rationality, if the person's insane...
See, and that's the difference, is somebody could buy my work and never partake of it, so they would never even know. They could have
mine too. They could buy my thing and never open the package. They could put it to a vault.
And I don't put it past some mega rich person to do something like that. Because when you have that much money, it does make the brain a little weird.
Sure, but that still means that there is, but then they still had to.
Yeah.
Only the most literally insane person. In which case, who cares? You can make up your own story because they're out of their minds.
Is it the creation, or is it the? I guess the reciprocation with the universe. The having people interact with your art. That's important at this point. Do you think?
For me?
Yeah. Is it the creation or is it the reciprocation?
Well, for me, it's both at this point because I don't have a benefactor. So
true, but
because there is not a monetary.
But people like your work and they comment and
Yes, the replacement for that is knowing that it wasn't a futile effort. That there is someone who gets something out of it.
I know, and I've told you before. I am envious of that. Like, it is nice to you and I create from such a different point of view now because you actually do have feedback.
Well, and there is also, I'll be honest, part of it is when people say, "Oh, that's really neat," and I think it's miserable. I'm like, okay, that helps me break out of my own self-doubt. Is if somebody else looks at it, I've been drawing something. I was doing one the other night, and I'm like, this, I don't know about this one. And my wife came in and she looked at it, she said, "Oh, that's really neat," and I'm like, okay. That wipes that right out because as long as one other person enjoys it, what the hell do I care?
Yeah, and that's the other thing you have is that your wife is still actually quite impressed with your skill. We talked about this.
Well, but also I've had strangers. I've posted things where I'm like,
no, I know, but I'm saying in general. But in general, people can look at your art. That's the problem with writing. It's still.
Well, I mean,
it's different. Yeah, no one's going to randomly read my book and then be like, "Oh, that was pretty good." Like,
but
no one randomly reads a book.
Because in your scenario, person says, "I'm going to pay you a handsome wage for your entire life.
Yeah.
Produce as much stuff as you want. It only comes to me. No one sees it."
Yeah.
Do I know if they're enjoying it? Well, why would they come to me if they didn't like my work? Why would you pay somebody to give you something you hate?
No, I know. Unless it's a hypothetical.
Unless they're out of their gourd, in which case I create my own reality, and that's fine. But even in the scenario where they themselves never look at another piece, they had to have seen something. They had to have, because how else would they say, "I'm going to pay this person"? They have to.
I like your logic.
So you just take that piece of gum
and just stretch it out as far as it'll go.
That I like it,
but
it infinitely stretches as long as they pay.
It is the question of what is why do you create art? Do you create it because you have to create it, or do you create it because you want to make money off of it? And there's different people, and I'm not saying any of it's wrong. I'm just saying different people create for different reasons.
But you have to think about this from the other end of the rainbow too, because here's the thing. This is what also offsets that is. Again, somehow this person found me. Unless this person followed me from infancy and managed to see my work before anyone else did.
I love that you're hung up on the intentions of the hypothetical.
Well, no, because I'm going to get to the other side where it goes beyond them. See, this is what I'm saying. Is you have to think, you have to blow wide out, right? You have to go really big with this.
Go for it.
So my output would have been visible to public eyes up to a point, and then it would suddenly stop, right?
And then the mythology of you having suddenly...
See? And so now, having never done anything... And I mean, unless the person's going to tell me that I have to lie about it. But
don't tell anyone you're creating art.
Right, but I mean, I would say that's how am I going to maintain that? But even
I know that, and that's why it's a hypothetical question. It's a question that's supposed to draw to the idea of.
And the other thing is, anybody with a brain would say, well, then how is this person getting paid? He must be making something for somebody. And there again, now you become an internet thing.
Well, no, because you know what? If someone started paying me to write and then and doing whatever with it, I have no internet presence. Nobody would know.
Well, you don't, but I do. That's what I'm saying. You're asking me. In my position.
Yeah. So so like I said, your situation is different. Yes, people would wonder why suddenly. Yeah.
Yeah. The black.
No, you're right. No, you are correct. At least somebody would wonder why Joe stopped creating art.
Yeah, somebody would say something at some point because I'm very active in a lot of different art online things. And if I suddenly just went completely radio silent.
Yeah.
Somebody somewhere would say, "Are you okay?" And I'd be like, "I'm great." And then we're like, "Well, you're not drawing anymore." And I'd be like, "Not that you can see, but I'm great," and then let them figure it out,
Yes, you and I are clearly in a very different situation.
Oh yeah, no, I that's why I'm like, I'll take that deal. No, sure, I'll take it. Absolutely.
Something will happen, yeah.
All I would have to hope.
Yeah.
This is the one thing. I would take it from someone who was twice my age or so.
Yeah.
Because once they're dead, then I would hope that the greedy underlings or whoever would then settle the work, and then then it's the explosion of fame at the end, and then that's great.
Did you see that? What's his name? With little fluffy trees. What's his name?
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross is one of his first works sold for like millions.
Because they famously don't sell his work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Well,
and I remember you saying that.
Saying? You see what I'm saying? This is the way to be, man. That's it.
Yeah. Like I said, you and I live in totally different.
Oh, fuck yeah. But I'm taking that deal. I have to think about that deal for about 5 minutes. And I'm like, I'm in.
Oh, I'd totally do it. I'd rather get paid to do something that I do anyway. I think that's what it comes down to, is that I'm doing this shit anyway.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah.
You want to pay me? That's fine. Nobody else is looking. It's not like there's competition. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If someone came out of the blue and they were like, "We'll take it all," I'd be like, "Okay, here you go." I mean, I'll keep doing it.
The tough part for me would be is if the person really said something like,
"I hate your shit, but I'm going to take it anyway."
You've given up on art entirely and you hate it now. I don't know that I could do that because I just don't think I could do that.
You know what's funny? I could probably do that pretty easily because I have such a love-hate relationship with it. Well, I talk about writing so often with such a sense of like loathing.
Oh no! I'm the opposite. I have only become more adoring of artwork, even if I'm not successful at it.
Here's the thing. I love art. I love all the art out there. And I love what people are doing. I just don't love and never love what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, no. Mine depends. Sometimes I hate the process, and sometimes I like it.
I like getting lost in it. That's fun. That's when you feel that moment of real creation, when you get lost.
I mean, as long as it results in something.
You know what? Sometimes, like I get different physics, man. Sometimes when I'm, if I get lost in it,
if I spend 2 hours on something and it looks like shit, I'm not happy with that 2 hours. Generally, unless I'm listening to an album that I really like, and then I'm like, well, at least the album was good.
2 hours of creation. I mean, you are far more focused on the end result than the journey.
Oh yeah.
And I've had a lot of journeys that never had an end, because creating a work of art like you can take 2 hours. But for me to write a book is like years.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's kind of, the thing is that it's not one or the other. It's both. The journey and the end result have to get someplace. Otherwise, I'm just like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, no, Jackson Pollock. So who the fuck
there's been a lot of journeys that didn't go anywhere because I had to kind of break off and go somewhere else. So, it's
interesting.
In
theory, you could say that a failed end result still usually leads me to something else. So I guess not. I've had things that completely blew up, but almost always it's like, well, there was an idea.
You learned something.
So there's that.
Listen, if you can watch the train wrecks that you watch and still find a kernel of hope, then I would hope myself that you could fail a piece of art that you were creating and still say, you know what? There's some things I figured out in here that I'm going to carry forth to do somewhere else. Or there's an idea, or there's a style, there's something in here that I really like that I'm going to carry with me.
What was the name of the person that collected, by the way? I wanted to link to the thing. Do you remember who it was?
Oh, who was? Oh, the guy? Oh, shit, hold on. Oh, I linked it to you. Hold on. Let me check the link.
You said, you sent that to me in text. That's
hold on. I sent it to my wife as well, so give me a second.
Okay. Yeah, because that's why I'm looking at Skype and I'm not finding it. Yeah, that's right.
Here it is. Roman Abramovich.
Got it. Yeah.
It was amassed one of the world's most impressive private stores of modern art.
I got it. Yeah, here it
is. And like, for example, who is it? There's that one painting. I think it's like Origin of the World, which basically was painting of a woman's vagina. Sure. But it's a provocative statement because yes, everything comes through here, guys. And that painting was going to be destroyed by the church, and it was essentially bought and kept in a private collection for decades and didn't resurface for many, many years because it would have been destroyed. So there's something to be said for private collectors who, on one hand, they can both protect art, but they can also make it so that it doesn't have a wide effect. And you do wonder at what ends up having a wide effect at the end of things. You know, like, why is Van Gogh so special right now? He was never special when he was alive. Why is he so special now?
There's
Still.
no answer to that. There's no answer.
You know, like,
you're talking about such a response on such a broad scale that how could you ever define it?
You and I were going on about Karlach in Baldur's Gate because we both think she's a really nice design, looks good, and it's like, wait a minute, this is a coupe devil girl. We grew up with this design. Oh, yeah, that's why we like it so much. You know what I mean? And it's that kind of thing. Is, you know, is it all just hearkening back to something that, you know, like what's the appeal? Why does one artist become iconic? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's not just coupe, to be fair. I mean, the idea.
No, I know that, but like, you and I grew up with that design.
Well, sure, because it embodies the what do you call it? The mischievous lust of a woman. You know, the idea of someone who is.
I don't think it's the mischievous lust of a woman. I think it encapsulates the mischievous lust of a man.
Well, sorry, what I meant was for a woman. That's what I meant. Yeah. No, what I mean is it is the embodiment of kind of what a lot of young men think the ideal is, it's the girl with the dark side. It is the literal embodiment of the dark side, you know, somebody who's a bad girl or whatever you want to say it. But I mean, there is nothing. Let's just define it correctly. There's nothing inherently novel in Karlach's design. That is the most baseline embodiment of the temptation of a woman that there ever has been.
It's what we grew up with.
Yes, but not just us.
No, but I know, but us specifically.
Yeah,
the design appeals to us specifically.
Yeah, because
we grew up with coupe.
Yes.
I've been putting his stickers on shit since I was in high school. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's...
Oh, yeah.
It harkens back to it for me. I mean, I know there's been devil girls. There was devil girls in the Bible. You know, like, I know that the design. But for me,
no.
It's coupe.
Yes.
You know?
We are easy lust puzzles. This is not complicated. Okay? So, yes, of course. But what I'm saying is that there's a reason that design didn't come from us, and it was there, and many people have appealed to it. It's because it is a foundational way of doing it. The same way that there's also the other side, which is the angelic, the pure virginal woman. That's the aspiration of so many, because apparently
it's the classic
the untouched whatever.
The Madonna whore complex. That's what the problem is. Men marry the Madonna, and then they cheat on her with the whore.
That's it. Yeah.
Which I'm going to tell you right now, the best thing to do is to marry the whore.
Sure. I mean, it's, you know, I think that trying to hold anybody up to an artificial standard is a bad idea. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And everything is always infinitely more complicated than the stereotypes. Right.
But to your original point, like I said.
But I'm saying it's that iconic thing. It's like, how do we respond? You know,
right. And Coop would tell you, I would assume, that he saw the same imagery from artists he grew up with or things he saw.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and
but the thing is,
aren't there World War II bombers with women like that on them? There must be.
Yes, there are. But what's fascinating to me is I know that the image is iconic beyond us. I'm saying that in a microcosm example, we respond so completely to the design because we grew up with the design, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it was never done before. I'm just giving you a microcosm.
No, I agree. But it's mimetic race memory. That's what it is. Yes. It's the idea of these same things get passed out, and you key in on whoever delivers it.
Red is danger, so it's a red woman. Red means danger.
Right.
She has the tail of a beast and horns.
Why is the idea of a woman with silver eyes and razor nails appealing right off the bat? Because we read Neuromancer. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You know what? Actually, I'll go in a different direction for you. The mirror eyes and the razor blade fingers, no. But I love the idea of bodyguard women, of hard bodyguard women.
But that's what I'm getting at. Is it isn't.
That's why Strange Days.
That's
why Strange Days. Was it Strange? No, Strange Days. Is that the one Strange Days with Angela Bassett?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why that movie appeals to me so much because if anything,
Johnny Mnemonic because Dynamite.
Yeah, well,
she's in it.
Dina,
she does not have great. Silver eyes or the razor nails.
No, but she's still fucking awesome, right? Yeah, it's the female bodyguard. Yeah, Like that notion appeals to me. I grew up with that. I like it. You know, I love strong women.
Well, but part of that is Neuromancer.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because that character is
I like strong
more
women
than everyone else around.
Yeah, she is the most dangerous motherfucker in the room. Right. Until the ninja.
Well, sure. I mean, there's always somebody stronger, of course. But what I'm saying is,
yes. Well, that's why Snow Crash and was it Neuromancer are two perfectly balanced books to read together, because one goes one way and the other goes the other way, and they balance you out
very well.
You know. So, but yes, the idea of why do some things become iconic?
Sure.
You know. And they change over time. Listen, in 100 years, people might give two shits about Van Gogh. He'll be another artist floating around the museum, and they'll attach themselves to something else. Something else will become kind of the cultural meme flashpoint, you know?
Yeah, sure.
And it could be someone from today, or it could be someone from way further back. You know, I mean, we were talking a few shows back about Jean Jerome and how he was huge in his day, and how today, like, you know, you're vaguely aware of his work, but he's not the massive presence that he was then.
The Renaissance and the near to either in the time or right nearby had more than Leonardo, Raphael, and Michelangelo. There were others.
Yeah, but those are the Teenage Mutant Heroes.
Well, that wasn't why I went with that. But it was, you know. But what I'm saying is, those are the people know. But on the same token, in those same museums, there are other Renaissance painters whose names you don't know, but they're still hanging there, and you will see them when you go to see the Van Gogh.
A countless number of artists from these time periods
and
that never made it to the museums.
The inverse of your point is also true, which is even if they have faded from the name check memory, they're in that museum with the same weight as the person you know. So does it matter? No, because they're there.
Yeah.
Because if something of mine was hanging next to
my daughter,
right?
My daughter was asking me why. I wouldn't
care if you didn't know the name. I would just be like, I'm hanging next to that painting. Who gives a fuck? I'm in there. Done.
My daughter asked me why Mona Lisa was it the greatest painting ever, and I was like, why would you ask me that? She's like, well, because it pops up all over the place. It's like, is it why is it so famous if it's not the most important work of art? And I was like, Mona Lisa is famous essentially because it went missing for years.
You know what's
it was
funny?
Stolen. What's that?
When was this? Is a while ago. I forgot all about this. This is one of those things that I always meant to tell you, and I keep forgetting about it because it's such a nothing thing to me, but it's funny. Because I did it as a joke, but I actually mean it. Somebody had said something about, the famous paintings, and, I think somebody had said, oh, the Mona Lisa has to be the most famous painting, because, and they asked me, because they're like, well, Joe, you're an artist. What do you think? And I said, honestly, I think the song is better than the painting will ever be. And I mean it. I don't give a shit about the Mona Lisa. It's not that great a painting. I'm sorry. It's not. I don't have any real thing for the Mona Lisa.
No, but what's fascinating is it builds on the whole thing you're talking about, legend. It builds on its own legend.
Well,
it was stolen. It was hidden. Then they got it back. And now there's to see it, you have to go on a special line. It has its own wall. It's behind plexiglass. How is this not the most important painting in the world with all this fanfare?
Had your daughter asked me that question, my response would have been, there is no such thing as the greatest painting, period. Art, like everything, is subjective, and what is the greatest to you will be different to the person right next to you, no matter what lives you've led, even if they were identical, all the way up to the point where you walked in the museum. Who cares?
Every journey is different.
No greatest. Yeah.
And every art will affect you. I mean, like you're saying, greatest is it affects you the most, or you think the most beautiful, or it's just so varied. Yeah. Much like the human experience.
Because people don't really think about it is this construction of the way things work. Like people who think that Leonardo sat there and painted it just looking at her, when there's every bit of evidence that all the great masters who were foundational artists were tracing and using light boxes and doing all the same trickery and not cheating, but shortcutting and ways of easing what they're trying to do that any modern artist does. I overheard somebody talk about how kids working on a computer, that's not art. And I'm like, fuck you, it isn't art. It's the same thing. I said, as long as the person is the one doing the work, or the majority of the work.
You know what? Yes, you are correct. If the person is the one doing the majority of the work, right? Then it's still your creative. It's still a creative creation. Do you know what I mean?
Correct.
Like it's not just, you didn't just type in to a machine learning system to pump something out for you. Like you physically did it. You know what I mean? Like
even a machine learning system. My problem with that, even in that, my problem is a person who claims that it is their work solely. It is not.
It's a work, but it's not their work.
Well, it is a collaborative
well,
work.
You know what?
The problem is that you're collaborating with you don't know who.
Here's the thing. So my calf tattoos, right? I have they are Maori influenced, but they are a play on the idea of naughty and nice. So I used all this different imagery and then brought in all other stuff. And I used a light table and I traced all these different styles of tribal design and geometric design in together and created a design that I then had tattooed on my calves, right? Now, I did not draw anything new for this. It is completely comprised of things I've seen. I may have put something like 20 different designs together to make one calf. Right? Is it art?
Is it art? Sure. Yeah, it is.
All right, because the thing is, I've never seen anything like it.
Well,
it
I was
is
going to
unique.
say, I would have to see it to be sure, but if what you're doing is you are blending different designs
yes,
into a new
because the thing
whole, then yeah, it is.
I know that I can't draw. I mean, my wife is always like, you can draw. I'm like, no, I can't draw. I cannot put things together. What I can do is put things together in my head. And what I did was I basically printed out a whole bunch of different designs I liked, and then I used a light table to basically create, to trace them and to slowly trace them all together. So I still put it all together, and I used pieces. Sometimes just like tiny pieces, but like 20 different designs that I then melded together to form a new design. That doesn't itself
the other
look
thing about
like
what you're talking about is you're not selling it. You were using it.
No, I was just using it for my own.
Yeah,
for my own imagery. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, but it is still a creation. I didn't just tell a device to pump out an image of something for me. Like, I actually physically created it. I was impressed with myself. It doesn't happen often. I thought it was a good design. The problem is, when you are the creator of a thing, you can always see the nuts and bolts, and that means that it'll never be as perfect as,
Oh yeah, as if somebody does it, you can't. Yeah, no, I agree.
And then
you always see the seams.
Because when someone else, someone holds it up to their picture up to you, you're like, wow, that looks really good, and then you hold up the picture that you created, and you're like, wow, this is wrong.
I know. I have that.
Yeah, doesn't that suck? You can never be be enamored of your own. I mean, that's good.
I've almost had I've had this thought where I've done something I really liked, and I've been like, man, I wish I could just hit my head into the wall really hard.
You know what? Listen,
I
really like one paragraph from my Break World book. There's one paragraph in that book that I really like.
So here's the question then to you. Yeah. If you could, would you have the part of your memory erased of the creation of it, and still being able to know that you made it, so you could read it clean?
No. Here's the thing. This is the beautiful part about writing that I'm beginning to understand. Writing and getting older, right? It's been long enough now that I remember the book on like a cellular level, but I don't always remember my wording. So I can read sections of the book and go, that was pretty clever. Like I don't
have that.
Yeah, because the thing is, remember, a book is so big and there's so much going on that over time I can divorce myself enough from it.
I wish
Whereas
I
every
that.
time, that is the one nice thing about writing. That you can get far enough.
I know every line and how I made it, and often how many times I had to fucking redraw it because I could not get it right.
Dude, this current piece that I'm working on is I've revised that probably I've read the whole thing through start to finish probably at least 20 times. Just start to finish, and this is more than 100 pages at this point, and I've just read through it all the way, revised. But yes, there's in Breakworld, there's one paragraph that I really like, and in this new one, so it's 100 pages, 100 plus pages. There's 2 lines that I really like, and I only like them because there's something very poetic about them, and every time I read them, I'm like, the imagery for me is like, one of them is a line about it's a character thinking of a woman, and the way the sweat drips down his face makes him think of a finger trailing his like a fingertip trailing his face.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and I like the imagery of it. Like the way I write it, I was like, yeah, it's kind of nice. But like that's where I'm at. And I wrote 100 and something pages, and I had like 2 lines. And I was like, well, those are pretty good. I wrote a whole book, and it's like there's a paragraph in there that I'm like, that's a fun paragraph. You know, and the best part is the paragraph I find to be most fun is the one that my wife's like, no one's gonna know what the fuck you're talking about. And she's right, because a lot of people who have read the book, they always ask me, well, what paragraph is it? And I'll tell them, and they'll be like, oh, I had no idea what was going on there. And I'm like, yep, I know, and that's probably why I like it, because, you know, I told my wife, and I told you this, the whole Quantumania movie, you know, there's so much wrong with that movie, but there's a level of weird to that movie that almost began to approach the level of weird that I like to function at.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I don't get movies that are at that level. So if something that even comes near it, I'm like, oh, this is a lot of fun. I like that. Even though, you know, there was a lot of problems with it. It was fun to me. And that's why there is certain fiction I read where it's like, you know, like if you and I like something, I know it's doomed. Because I know that it's just too fucking weird.
Sure, yeah. I gotcha.
You know? But it's like, yeah, of course it's the paragraph that most people read and they're like, what the hell is going on? And it's like, oh yeah, whenever it, like, you know, fucking you get in nanotechnology and other stuff. Whenever classic like sci-fi nanotechnology gets involved, I love that, you know, where things get amorphous and jelly-like and the future is both terrible and amazing. Yeah, I love when amazing things are also terrible, you know. Yeah, like was it the what was it we were talking about when something is it not epic? Oh, something is awesome. Yes. So when I love it when something is awesome, but in the truest sense, which is that it is something that is not that it's great.
Awe.
It's just so immense or so, you know, that it inspires a sense of awe, even if it is terrible. Sure. You know what I mean? Like you have to stand back. Like, yeah. So, and
Cthulhu
I'm not going to get
awesome.
Yeah, there is an awesomeness
to
but it's just so immense, the concepts of what is in, you know, what's going on. So, yes, I love it when things get awesome. But you say that it's just so trite, right?
Yeah. It's become a catchphrase for great.
Well, yeah, and
for
that's
positive,
the thing is like
great for positive. Because
for
great,
positive, great.
You could say this creature that's about to kill you stands at a great distance, or it is a great creature. Well, not great because it's good. Great because of its size.
Yeah, and that's why you always have to put on, like, you know, the following word where it's like the awesome dread, you know what I mean, or something like that. Like, then you get it. Then it's like, well, it's not that it's great. It's just so immense and overwhelming, you know? So, now that we've blown smoke up our own asses for this long, I'm sure you have a movie review to pull this one out of the hole.
I do. Yeah, so I don't have any sound clips for this one because it's in Swedish. So.
Ooh, well, come on. You're
I could have
thinking that we don't want to listen to some Swedish people talk.
I could have, but it wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't even know how to place them properly because I'd have to actually have the clip. But, you know.
I'm gonna give you the flavor of this, guys.
Yeah, here's what it sounds like.
Oh, no. What you should have done, and what I would have been really impressed if you did.
What, it's like a voice translation thing?
No, if you told us you were going to play a clip, right? And then you just played the Swedish Chef.
Oh, God. See, yeah. That, you know, it would be funny if somebody were to dub that over. It wouldn't be hard.
Oh, really man. Just the once, if you had done that, you would have gotten me. Because at this point, I expect your clips.
Yeah.
But if you'd done that to me, that would have been a good side swipe.
So
you've got a Swedish movie. What is it called?
Yeah. So, as I've talked about at length in previous shows, I had bought that 4-movie set of the Polish science fiction films, the Apocalypse tetralogy, and that was a rare case where I bought a movie sight or a set of movies, really, sight unseen. Right? I don't usually do that. Usually, I'll try to watch it on YouTube or I'll rent it or whatever and see if I can get a flavor of whether I like it or not. But I came across, because there's a number of sites that tell you, okay, here's some new Blu-rays and 4Ks coming out, because I keep an eye on those. I don't buy that many anymore most of the time unless they're really weird or, you know, something special. But I'm always a sucker for good artwork. What a surprise. And so I saw this movie that was called Black Circle from 2018, even though I've also seen it 2019, so whatever. And it's just a very minimalist pair of hands over what are like concentric circles, almost like a Tron image, but it's red. And I was like, oh, that's kind of neat looking. What is this? And I'm like, it's from 2018, though. I don't really like modern horror. But then I saw it was Swedish, and I went, oh, not American. Okay, I'll take a look then. And so I looked at it, and it sounded interesting because I saw
a mystical vinyl record from the 70s.
Well, and I saw comparisons to Beyond the Black Rainbow, which I fucking adore.
Yeah.
Right? So I went, okay, I'm starting to hear the little things that are making my spider sense, go. So I went, okay, let me look up what this is about. And I read, and 70s record, and it's starting to cause problems. I'm like, okay, let me see where I can watch this. And I start looking, and nobody's got it. And I mean, I even went to piracy sites. I'm like, even a shitty copy, because it's modern, and I don't trust modern. So I want to make sure this isn't a jump scare, nonsensical, nothing. Couldn't find anything except trailers. And the trailers look good, but of course trailers don't mean shit. So I'm like, okay, do I want to roll the dice on this thing? And I went, fuck it. Last time I did, I was happy with it. I was extraordinarily happy with it. Let me get it. So I get it. It comes. I put it in. And I'm like, boy, I hope I don't hate this fucking movie. Right? And I didn't. I thought it was very good. I don't know that I would necessarily compare it to Beyond the Black Rainbow, only because the visuals are not as weird and out there. This is more of I would almost compare it more in some ways to something like The Green Knight than I would Beyond the Black Rainbow in terms of what its visuals and kind of background are. Essentially, it's a film that takes place in the modern day, and there's this woman who gets a call from her sister, goes to see her sister. So these two sisters, which I believe their parents are dead. They don't specify, but they keep talking about how they only have each other. So you would infer that means their parents are dead or gone in some way. And she goes to see the sister, and the sister is in this really, really nice office. And this is Issa is the sister in the nice office. Or no, I'm sorry. Issa is the sister. Oh, no, sorry. Celeste is the sister who goes to visit Issa. Fucking terrible with names. So Issa is the one with the nice office and successful. She's in, a nice business suit and beautiful office with a lookout over the city and all the rest of it. And, and she's concerned about Celeste. She's like, I know you're kind of, a little bit aimless. And, I want to, I feel bad because we only have each other and I'm doing really well. And I want you to be doing really well. And Celeste is like, I'm doing fine. And Issa's like, no, you're going around and you're partying with your friends and you're taking drugs and you're not really making anything of your life. And I'd like you to have the success I have. Listen to this record. And Celeste is like, I don't do motivational stuff. And he's just like, well, just bear with it for a week. And if nothing happens, fine, give it back to me and we'll forget all about it. But just give it a chance. And she's like, just make sure you follow the instructions very carefully. And Celeste is like, okay, fine. And so she takes the record and she goes back home. And it's a record from, and you get this opening, I think at the very beginning, it plays this thing about hypnosis and magnetism, and how this is a new innovation using magnetism, not hypnosis, because hypnosis puts you into a trance state where you're not aware of what's going on, but magnetism utilizes your conscious mind to allow you to have positive results. Blah, 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 blah. It's a really, the guy constructed like an old hippie, very Beyond the Black Rainbow with the Arborea Institute, and there's that similarity there. So that's very similar. It's just in the actual visuals of the rest of the movie that it's more grounded for the most part until weird little things. So she listens to the record and, she goes into kind of a semi-trance type of thing and nothing really happens the first night. And then, she goes out and she's partying with her friends and they take ketamine and they go back to her place and the friend collapses in the couch out in the main room. And so she lays down, she puts the record on and she's listening to it and she starts to go into the trance state again. But then she kind of looks over and she sees something that resembles like some kind of egg sac type of thing with veins on it. And it's like pulsating. And then the friend comes in the room and wakes her up, and she wakes up and looks around and there's nothing there. And the friend's like, yeah, it's ketamine. That's what it is. You're having you're listening to this weird fucking, the friend stops the record. That's what she does. When she comes to the room, she stops the record and that shocks her out of it. And she's like, Jesus Christ, did you see somebody else in here or something else in here? She's like, no. And she's like, well, you're coming off ketamine. That's what it does. And so she's like, oh, okay. And then they go back to sleep, and the friend leaves. And then she gets up the next morning, and she goes to change her bed sheets, and under the bed sheets, there's all this gross shit. So clearly there was something, right? So then she's like, uh-oh. So she goes to ask her sister what the fuck the record is, and she shows up, and the sister's office is like trashed, and the secretary says, I think your sister might be in trouble. And she says, what do you mean? She was doing great 2 days ago when I was here. And she said, yeah, she's been doing great. And then suddenly something just changed the last couple days, and we don't know where she is. And so she looks on the back of the record because she can't find the sister. And on the record is the person who was a woman who was responsible for making the record from this Institute of Magnetic Psychology or whatever it was called. And so she goes to find her. And as she's going to find her, we cut to that woman whose name is Lena. And Lena is the main actress from a very famous cult movie called Thriller, A Cruel Picture, about a heavily assaulted woman with an eye patch who goes on basically I spit on your grave type of revenge thing. So that's the claim to fame to this movie, is that she's in it. And she's very good. So, obviously older. And before she gets there, Lena is there, and suddenly there's this explanation that comes up about spirits of the universe, including something called the Supreme, which as far as I could tell was almost a Swamp Thing type of creature. It looks like Swamp Thing, and it seems to be responsible for telepathic powers. It's very vaguely kind of described. You see a couple of pictures of it, but they don't get too far into it, which I'm fine with. That's very ambiguous. But at the same time, after they get this whole explanation, these two, I think they're supposed to be brother and sister, which makes it gross later, but we'll get to that. I think they're supposed to be brother and sister, show up at Lena's house, the woman who made the record, and they are psychic. They're basically like Jean Grey types, but they don't realize, and it's not really clear why they show up, but it might be that they were actually drawn there or sent there by the Supreme, because they keep talking about working for the Supreme. And so they think they're fucking with Lena. And then at one point she says to the girl, she snaps her fingers and she says, you're going to go and you're going to stand in the corner and you'll stare at it. And the girl just does it. And then she says to the boy, now you're going to stop fucking with me or I'm going to show you what I can really do. So Lena clearly has some kind of abilities. But hers don't seem to be strictly telepathic. It's almost like she's got the voice from Dune. Like if she talks the right way, you do what she says. Yeah, so there's all this kind of shit that gets bandied about. The idea is, a lot of people don't seem to like this because they want everything defined. I'm okay with it not being defined, but I think the idea is supposed to be that once you start messing around with these different alteration techniques, you start tapping into some fundamental universal shit in different ways. And that Lena's one of these people who managed to tap into it through the Institute. But she makes it very clear that she gave all of it up. Like something has happened where she is no longer involved. She still uses the abilities. She still has them. But she is no longer distributing these records. She doesn't want any part of the Institute. Like she's given up all the research. There's a guy who still maintains the old building they were in, because she goes and meets with him and she says, oh, you're still keeping track of things. He's like, well, somebody has to keep this stuff up. And she's like, better you than me. I'm done with it. And he's like, you'll change your mind. He's like, there's power here. And she's like, I know there's power here, but I don't want any part of it anymore. But not antagonistically, not like, I will make you come back, but just he really is a true believer type of thing. Right? So then Lena says to and I mean, what they really reminded me of was Fenris from the X-Men, which is an incestuous twins couple who have powers together. I really feel like somebody had liked Fenris and did that. So she says to the male Fenris, somebody's coming and you're going to behave yourself when she gets here, or yourselves when she gets here. And who shows up is Celeste. And Celeste shows up and says to Lena, I found your name from this record. And at that point, her sister shows up. And her sister's all frazzled right before they got there. Her sister shows up and she's all panicked and she says, something's following me. And Celeste says, what? And she's like, I don't know, but she's in my car. And they look out the window and the car's there. And Celeste runs down the stairs to go confront whoever's in the car, and the car drives off. She comes back in, and suddenly the car reappears. And that's when she's like, okay, let's go find this woman. I don't know what's going on, but let's go find her. So they go and they find her, and they find Lena, and they explain what's going on. Lena takes the record and immediately burns it. And when she burns it, it starts to scream or something. But she burns it, and they're like, do you know what's going on? And Lena says, yes, of course I know what's going on. What has happened is We didn't know when we created the record. The idea of the record was it was meant to purge you of your negative self. The problem is it doesn't really purge it. It creates a double. Yes, it creates an evil.
Whoa, what was that movie? Oh God,
it's called like Self or Myself? The one with Jake Gyllenhaal.
It's the one that's directed by fucking Moss from the IT crowd, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I think that's the one with Jake Gyllenhaal, isn't it? I think you're right.
It might be. Hold on. What is it? Was he the one who directed it? Or
I believe you're right. No, I think you're right. I'm pretty sure you are absolutely right. The movie is called The Double. The Double.
The Double. There you go.
And it's not Gyllenhaal. It's the other guy. It's Jesse Eisenberg. It's Lex.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. The Double. Right. Yeah. I don't know if this similar. Yes. Or like Lynch has done doubles his whole career. Same thing. Like the what's the word for it? A topo or topo. Whatever. There's a name for it. I can't remember. It was in Twin Peaks season 3. There was 2 Diane. That's what it is. Tulpa. Tulpa. A tulpa. Anyway, so she says, yes, you create, what it does is it creates a second version of you where all the negativity is contained in it. It's essentially a ghost. Problem is, if you and the ghost are connected by an invisible umbilical cord, and so you are never that far apart. The way that you can tell a double is that when it gets to the end of the umbilical cord, if the original keeps walking, the double has to start walking backwards when it hits the tether, right? So that's your clue on what the double is. So she says, so Celeste says, well, what do we do? How do we fix it? Do we kill the other one? She says, no, you can't kill it. She says, what you have to do is you have to do a reverse exorcism. In essence, she describes it as basically a reverse exorcism. She says, you have to reintegrate the 2 selves. The risk is if the double has been around for too long, because it saps your energy as the original. It can. And so she says, if it becomes stronger than you at the reintegration point, it is now in charge and you exist. The original exists as a eternal, well, not eternal. I guess the person dies, it goes away. But as long as the double lives, you live as its echo in a phantom state. So you don't have any tangible self. You exist as a ghost.
Yeah.
Right. And you watch all the things it does and you are helpless. So she says, we did this with my sister and it didn't end well, but she doesn't say what happens, but there's no sister. So you imagine that means that either the sister died or the double took over, but it's never really clear what happened. She just says, we tried this with my sister. It didn't end the way I wanted it to. I think that's what she says. So she may even have killed her. It's hard to say. Because Lena is, I don't want to say ruthless, but you understand that Lena does not pull any punches on anything. Meaning, my read of it is that the sister got subsumed by the double and Lena killed her. That's my read of it. But they never say. So I don't know. But that's how she comes across as, oh, you're not my sister? Bang, you're dead. Because I'm not going to let my sister live as your, haunted whatever. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Done. So, but what she implies is that unlike with her sister, she tried to do the reverse exorcism herself. But now she has the 2 Fenris twins, and with their psychic power, she believes she can do a successful reintegration. But she has to do 2 of them, because Celeste also listened to the record, and what she was seeing form was her double, but it's very weak because it hasn't been forming for that long. So it's basically a ghost.
Well, and she was supposed to listen to it for like a week, wasn't she?
Right. And she only did 2 days. So she didn't get all the way through. And that's why the double hasn't fully formed. Whereas Issa listened to it the whole way through and the double fully exists and is able to drive a car. And the reason it's always around is because it can't go that far from her. Like there's I think I say it's 100 meters. Or maybe it's it's 100 something. There's a distance where it can only go so far on its own. And that's why what it ends up wanting to do is kill you and take over so it has complete freedom. So, but there is no way to sever the umbilical. At least that's the way Lena says it, is you can't coexist. You have to be one or the other. So she says, we're going to try it with you first, meaning Celeste, because you're easier and I want to make sure that these 2 can actually do it. So she runs this whole, and this is basically the second half of the movie, is the reverse exorcism. So the first one is with Celeste.
This is oddly, there's a lot of weird sort of feel and echo of the movie we reviewed last week.
What's
The scientist who creates immortality by catching the
Oh
asphyx.
yeah, the asphyx. Yeah, not intentional, but yes.
No, but there's like a weird asphyx vibe because it's like a very specific kind of,
well, in essence, yes, this is an asphyx that is a double.
Yeah.
And the death is to take over. So yeah, you're right.
Not in the sense of immortality, but this idea of a very specific kind of non-science thing.
Yeah, and a personal creature.
A personal thing. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get you. Yes, there is that connection. I agree. So they do the Celeste integration first, and it's obviously and it's a very interesting procedure because she uses. They're the guy who was the caretaker, and then she uses the female psychic, and they can't speak, and they each have a cane, and when she asks questions, they respond by slamming the cane. That's their way of, like, they have to tap, like slam the cane down because she keeps saying, step forward. Do you see the umbilical? If they do, they slam the cane down. If they don't, they don't. And then she has them step back, turn left, turn right. At one point, they have to peel the floor up to try to find this umbilical because we never see it as the audience. We never see it. It's all done through her speaking to them and their nonverbal responses through the impacts of the cane and their movements. It's a really interesting way of doing something like this. So you never actually see anything until the very last moment where they reintegrate. You see the double going back into Celeste and them kind of writhing a little bit. But there's no big showy it's not a bunch of big, effects. No, it's all done essentially in an empty room using sound. Just sound design, like the ambient sound of the room.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting. Again, not American. American would have a giant poltergeist that was, spitting pea soup. And I don't want to go back. It'd be some garbage bullshit that they do now. No, this isn't American, so it's actually fucking awesome. So, they reintegrate Celeste. But it really takes a toll on the female Fenris psychic. So she says, okay, rest for an hour, and then we're going to go again, and we're going to do Issa, and that's going to be tougher because that one has been around longer. And the male Fenris
so it's a success.
Yes, Celeste gets reintegrated. She's fine. No problem. So she says, so go rest. And the male Fenris is like, no, we can't do it that quickly. She needs more time. This is going to kill her. And Lena's like, no, we're doing it in an hour. Be back here. And basically commands them. So then the two of them go back to the room, and it's weird because I think they're supposed to be related. But then again, that's Fenris, so whatever. But that whole scene is really strange because I don't know what it added except to be gross, if in fact they are brother and sister, which I'm pretty sure they are. But then again, I guess
they were just adding some, weird nudity to it.
Yeah. Well, there's barely any nudity either. That's the thing. It's not even a gratuitous nude scene. It's just weird and strange. But I guess maybe it's supposed to establish how close they are, and the fact, but I don't think it was. If they weren't brother and sister, it's fine. But it sure seemed like they were, because they're talking about making Dad proud. Now maybe they meant the Supreme. I'll interpret it that way. They meant the Supreme. It's not gross at all. It's fine, because that just makes my brain feel better. So we'll just say that. And at one point, you see the Supreme materialize for 1 second, and then he disappears. And he never shows up again, so I don't even know what that was supposed to mean. But then I don't really care. It's okay. I don't mind it. You will see him for 1 second. And he looks like the Swamp Thing, except without... Well, no, actually, he looks like a melding of Swamp Thing and Man Thing. Really. He looks like the two of them blended together.
Sounds like kind of like almost very a very earthy spirit.
Yes, that's why I was saying the Green Knight is more of like the nature element type of thing. So anyway... So now they get ready to do Issa's, and Issa's is tougher. They actually have a very hard time just locating the umbilical. That's where they have to pry the floor up, and basically they've managed to summon the double, and now you see the two of them. So the two Issa's are there, right? And so they capture, the one is in a different part of the building, so they capture the one, and so they've got the one that the original one is in the room, and then they've got the double outside near the entrance to the building. And the one that they capture says, no, I'm the original. And Lena says, well, that's what they all say. So she's like, there's an easy way to tell.
So you don't even know who the original is at that point.
At that point, you don't. Well, I mean,
okay. Well,
you kind of do because, well, the way they're portrayed is different. The Issa that showed up with Celeste looks very sick. looks very weak, looks like she's about to collapse. The one that they find after they trace the umbilical cord doesn't look as sick. She looks stronger. So, but when they capture her, she says, I'm the original. And Lena says there's a really easy way. Actually, maybe it's the inverse. I'm trying to remember which one looks sicker. But it doesn't really matter. So Lena says, well, there's an easy way to find out. She's like, all you have to do, if you think you're the original, is walk through that door and walk outside, because she knows that they're at the max distance. So she says, you walk out that door and you don't start being pulled backwards, we have no problems. And so she starts to walk, and as she's getting close to the door, she starts having this real harsh stutter step, like it's very almost like she's trying, like she's being pulled, right? So then she gets to the doorway and she stops, and then she steps through it, and in the other room, the other one gets pulled backwards. So it was it was the reverse the whole time. The one that came to Celeste was the double, and the original is the one that they found in the other room, because the double is at this point technically stronger because she's been around for this long. So once they figure that out, and nothing really bad happens, that's more of a surprise to the audience, because the way you see it and the way Lena talks, you're meant to believe that the one that they find is the double, and that walking through the doorway will prove it because she'll walk backwards. They keep talking about her walking backwards, but in fact the one in the room does, which I kind of guessed. I'm like, they're setting this up. This is a setup to make us understand as a surprise that the one in the room was the original, but they don't overdo it the way a lot of movies would. It's just a very matter of fact thing. Cause at that point, the guy's like, she's the double, grab her. And they grab her and they strap her to a chair, and that's it. And then they bring the original up.
Yeah. It's not like she has superpowers or something like that.
No, she doesn't suddenly start spinning her head and like punching everybody and crawling on the wall. Again, the typical way. No, it's just that.
I'll swallow your soul.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of thing. So they strap them down to chairs and they start the entire sequence. And the sequence is beating the shit out of the psychics. The one's bleeding from his head. The other one's vomiting blood, all the rest of it. But and Lena's kind of directing everything. And then there's this big like EMP shockwave and all the lights go out. Lights come back up. And there's the one Issa is sitting there. And so Celeste says to the male psychic, who seemed to be able to sense when there were doubles, she says to him, even though he's very weak, she's like, do you sense anything? Did it work? Do you know if it worked? Is she the original or is she the double? And he looks at her and he says, I'm not sensing anything. I think it worked. And so she gets up, she hugs her sister. And then in the background, we see a shadow image of Issa trapped. So it did not work. The double took over and the movie ends and she's trapped for eternity. Oh yeah. Hey, it's not American.
Oh,
so I knew that. I'm like, there is no
way
way that worked, because this is not an American film.
And so, but here is the question: is the doppelganger evil then?
It's never. Well, the thing is, they never really get into that part of it. But Lena does say that it is the negativity personified. So my suspicion would have to be that she will be, if not evil, she won't be her sister anymore. She'll be a worst
bitch. Part. Okay. Yeah. So, but I like that it's still small scale though. It's not like she's going to bring her at the end of the world.
Oh no. It's just that. Yeah. And to me, and again, there's a lot you can infer or whatever. This movie seems like a direct metaphor for drug addiction. That's what it is. It's like, oh, this is supposed to be a stand-in for drug addiction. Like, that seems very, very clear to me. But you can take whatever you want from it. That's the nice part about it. But it seemed very clear to me this was, oh, okay, addiction, and when you lose somebody to addiction, this is what happens. Because again, going all by the metaphor thing, it works perfectly fine.
You may get them back at the end, but they'll never be the same.
Yes. So that, or when you lose somebody, it doesn't mean they die necessarily. It's just, you could bring to it what you want, or you can read it as a surface level thing. I thought it was really good. I actually would say this is a good pairing for Beyond the Black Rainbow, even though I don't think they're one-to-one comparable. You can either start really galactically weird and then go to something more grounded, or you can do the inverse. But they do feel related. There is something, and both have to do with drug use and kind of expanding the mind or expanding the self, and it goes wrong. they do have these spiritual ties, these doppelganger ties with an umbilical cord, if you will, or whatever. I really liked both of them. I think that Beyond the Black Rainbow is a stronger visual film. So that's where when people compare it, I don't necessarily think they should just directly compare it. They should say, in terms of the feeling of it and the idea of a psychology idea that gets out of hand, because that's the same thing. Beyond the Black Rainbow is also about this guy who thought he came up with this novel way to solve all life's problems and didn't really think about the fact that he could create a fucking monster with it. And this is the same thing here, where it was, we're going to try this approach to self-improvement. The problem is, yes, it does expunge all your negativity. We just didn't realize that there's another dimension where it has to go somewhere.
It has to go somewhere.
Right. So, and it's a very, again, it's not American.
In that respect, it does remind me of the Asphyx, because the Asphyx, death has to go somewhere.
Right.
And if you can't get it back, then you don't get to die.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, it's small scale, but it's very big in that respect. It's big on the personal scale.
Yeah, it's
without
never
being
even
like end of the world,
Yeah, the movie doesn't even make it clear if that many people even bought into this idea. So there may have only been 5 of these records ever made. It's never really. It doesn't seem as if it was a big, the secret level type of thing where people bought into it. It seems like it was a niche thing. So you're right. There is no real impact from it. And even in the worst result, all you get is a bad person, which there's a world full of them that didn't need a record at all. So who cares? Yeah. It's not like they suddenly can shoot lightning. The psychics in Lena are more powerful than the result of the record. The person who comes out of the record, there is no evidence and nothing ever said to indicate they have any abilities, just that they have been replaced by their dark self. That's it. Now, why the psychics, the Supreme, all that shit doesn't even factor in. It's just...
where do they come from,
Well, I think the idea is they are there to explain what gets tapped into for this process.
The Swamp Thing guy, do they give you any kind of explanation for where the fuck he comes from?
Well, no, they explain that he is, what is he? He's some kind of guardian of something. I don't remember what the exact explanation, because they do explain it. Not where he comes from, but what his role is. And he does seem to be some kind. He almost seems like Swamp Thing, where he's like an elemental of some kind. But I don't remember what the exact explanation for him was. Does anybody say what the Supreme is? I'm trying to see if anybody gets into it. I don't have the movie in front of me, so... Yeah, the movie is rich with character, builds a deeply original and engrossing mythology. Yeah, but I don't know if they explain what the damn Supreme is. It doesn't really matter.
It's not that it matters. I'm just curious, because it's kind of like it hints at a larger mythology. It
almost, if I remember correctly, it was almost like he was a balancing natural force.
But to what? What is he balancing?
Well, I think the idea is, because when he appears, the only way I can rationalize his appearance
is there an opposite force to him?
No, I will be. There's a commentary, and I will watch it, so I will report back if I get more information.
Yes, I mean,
I'll give you my best guess.
The mythology is fascinating.
Well, the way I'm reading it, and again, it's open, so you can read it different ways, is the psychics say the Supreme sent them, and they end up assisting Lena in reintegrating these two individuals. And she doesn't say that there's 100 people running around listening to these records and there's doppelgangers everywhere. And again, it seemed like it might have been something that was a very brief moment and almost nobody bought into it. And, I think... I'm trying to remember, there's a body that you see at the very beginning of the movie, and then he's dead. So, and he was part of it, but he's dead now. But anyway, the way I interpreted it, or one way to interpret it that I think works, is the Supreme appears before the second integration happens. He appears and disappears. And the psychics are there as his agents. And they end up assisting Lena in reintegrating both of them. It's just that when Issa is reintegrated, it's a permanent thing where the ghost exists. So what I would say is that the Supreme does not like these double people wandering around. There shouldn't be two copies of somebody. And so if they hadn't solved it, My thing would be he would show up and kill them. That he would have killed, if Issa and the double were still wandering around, he would have killed them or something. It's not clear. But I don't think it really matters. It's an interesting element, you know.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by it. That's all.
You know what? Actually, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I might be able to tell you. Oh no, I don't. I have the flash drive because I ripped the Blu-ray and watched it on my Plex server. So I was gonna say if the copy is still on my flash drive, I'll scrub to the part where it says it and explain what it is. But it's not there. So sorry. But like I said,
I wonder if it comes from something in Swedish mythology. So what is it called again? What do they call him?
The Supreme. Yeah, I don't know if it's the Smart Circle, the Supreme, because the Swedish title is Svart Circle. Let's see if this says anything about the Supreme. The Sister Ethereal Doubles. Okay. A young backpacking couple with psychic powers. Negative manifestations. Blah, blah, blah. Terror. Okay.
No, I'm getting it mixed up with Norse mythology.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is I don't see. I'm trying to find.
What was it? What was the movie called again?
Black Circle. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. No, nothing else of this because it is such a small part of it. I don't think anybody really.
Yeah, no. I just wonder. I wonder whether if it's a completely original idea or they got it from something.
I mean, just the way his design looks and everything, I think it's probably a transmutation of something real because it does look like a forest or some kind of natural super spirit thing. I don't know what the hell else to say or to call it, but that I have a feeling it's something that was adapted. If I had to guess. I'm just looking to see if anybody else mentions it. Helps if I spell it right. Hold on. S-U-P, Supreme. No, nobody mentions it. Damn.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Well, that was it. It's a really good movie. But again, if you see Beyond the Black Rainbow and a lot of these comparisons, it's more in the themes of it and kind of the baseline thing of a weird 70s self-help cult that then, had unexpected consequences, I guess would be the best way to say it. But it is not that wacky kind of, cosmic weirdness that that movie has. Its visuals are much, much more out there than this one is. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a second. I might be able to tell you. Because, this is funny if this works. Hold on a minute. Give me a second. Okay. All right, hold on. I think I can tell you. Only because there are subtitle sites that publish the subtitles for the movie. So I don't need the movie. I just need the subtitles. So let me see if I can get the subtitle file. And then I can read to you verbatim what the actual, I mean, there may be a little bit of translation weirdness, but then again, there might have been when I watched it. Okay, here we go. Put this right here. And let me open this. There is the SRT. Open with text edit. Okay. Oh, yeah, here it is. Let me see. I got to zoom in because this font is insanely small, and I'm not young anymore. Okay, so let me search for Supreme. Oh, God damn it. Can I not spell Supreme the first time? Oh, do you know who the Supreme is? The Supreme, yes. Did he send you because of my sister? Do you mean the woman sitting behind or the one who repeats? Yeah, my sister. So they are brother and sister. Ah, gross.
Wait, hold on. It could also be my sister in arms.
Oh, sure.
Like a nunnery. Like if you both follow a religious order.
Yeah, sure. That's.
I'll give you whatever rationalization I can here.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Because priests and nuns call each other sister and brother.
Here is your explanation. There is a recurring description of beings that don't seem to belong in our world. These beings have been named the Ancients, one of which appears even more often. This being has been referred to as the Supreme. But not only subjects of magnetism have seen him, also many mediums say they have had contact with this being. The Supreme and the Ancients are mythological creatures that have been referred to by generations of people with psychic abilities. They are believed to exist to watch and take care of the psychic realm. The Supreme seems to be the maximum authority of this realm. His aim is to make sure that individuals who cross from our plane to his do not disturb the delicate balance between the two planes of existence. There you go.
Interesting. Cool.
So it was kind of what I thought. He was there to make sure nothing too bad happened. All right, well, good. I inferred the right thing. So, see, it's not that unclear if I got it.
No, it's neat.
Yeah. So, yeah, the only bad side of this movie is it seems impossible. I mean, I could not find it searching everywhere, including illegal channels. I couldn't find anything. So I just went ahead and bought it. That's the only negative part of it is you have no option to watch this other than buying a Blu-ray of it or a DVD, I guess. But I don't even think it's I think it's just Blu-ray. So if there's one downside to it, it's I can't even give you a link to watch it without paying for it. But if you liked, the Asphyx, that one you can watch on YouTube. That's a much older style type of movie, but it does have I would tell somebody who liked Beyond the Black Rainbow, if you liked that movie for what it was about more than it's just the visuals, because there are some people who only watch it for the visuals, that they think the story is utterly boring. I don't, but I can see where they come from sometimes. If you are a person who enjoyed the totality of that movie, and you're okay if the over-the-top visual sequences are more toned down or ambiguous, you will probably like this quite a bit. I had a great time with it. I am not sorry I bought it. So that's probably the best review I can do of it outside of explaining the whole movie like I did. And as far as a comparison point, again, yes, Beyond the Black Rainbow is connected to this in some ways. But again, I just don't want anybody to come into this movie expecting really big, weird visual sequences because that's not there. It is more of what it's about. The idea of an idea that was born of an idealism that got corrupted either by accident or because these people didn't know what they were tapping into, which you can read it either way, honestly. And that's my review because I didn't want to review anything else. I thought, okay, this is a really good movie that probably nobody's ever heard of. And I would never have known of outside of the fact that I happened to see the cover. And the cover looked interesting. The
universe brought you this movie.
The Supreme sent it my way. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Supreme.
Yeah. Yes. Super Supreme with cheese.
Yes.
There you go.
Ultra Supreme. Double Supreme with cheese.
I do think it is weird though sometimes how certain movies, books, literature, art ends up in front of your eyes at the right or at the right time. Actually, I was gonna say the wrong time because I don't think there's a wrong time. I think it is funny sometimes you read a book and you think to yourself, Jesus, man, this book was exactly what I needed to read.
Well, there's a reason that there are cover artists and poster artists, and the fact that this didn't look like every other piece of artwork and cover that I've ever seen is why I stopped and looked at it. So whoever designed it knew what they were doing, and they got it right.
Well, they got the right crowd, yes.
Yeah. So remember how we were talking about targeted and non-targeted advertising?
Oh, was this Amazon?
Advertising, and it worked. No. I just there's a site that I don't even know what it's called. I literally just searched for Blu-ray release calendar, and this site comes up, and it's very.
I know that Amazon throws stuff at you sometimes.
No, Amazon is starting to lose its mojo there. No, this is blue-ray.com has a Blu-ray release count. It's a very simple, almost GeoCities looking site, but what it has is the cover art of all the discs. And so I will look at a certain week and say what's coming out. And I mean, there's always 30 things. And sure enough, it was out it only released 3 weeks ago, maybe. So, yeah.
Well, there you go.
And there you go. So that's it. So, yeah, what the hell did we talk about this week? I don't even remember. Oh yeah. So, by the way, I did look up. I looked up, and apparently that Crow reboot isn't happening anymore because Warner Brothers apparently has lost their patience with Abrams and his nonsensical things.
So in the span of our show, we have
discovered. I went to search for a reference article, and it said that they canceled their deal with him before the strike happened, so it probably will never happen. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh man, that's some real time for you.
Yeah, no kidding. So in the span, Abrams, in a sense, has been canceled in the space of 2 hours. Anyway, yeah, Black Circle, if you're into that kind of thing, I think it's worth seeing. And yeah, outside of that, I guess be afraid of your car. Krull seems safe for now. And I will be curious on the responses to people about our art discussion, because we do have people who have emailed in about art stuff before, so they may have a different viewpoint on it. But by all means, read that article. And if art falls down in the forest and no one is there to see it, does it exist? You know? And on that note, we'll talk to you next week. Have a fun weekend. Visit OzoneNightmare.com to subscribe to new episodes, browse through our back catalog, or to find links to support the show. Follow @OzoneNightmare on Twitter for the latest episode postings and other show information. If 280 characters just isn't enough, you can always email us, theozonenightmare@gmail.com. The opening theme for the show is provided by Heartbeat Hero. The closing theme is provided by Ogre. Please visit and support these artists using the links in the show notes for each episode.